Smith is suing her former live-in boyfriend, Gerald Ware Jr., for half the cost of a cruise, utility bills, and a loan to hire an attorney.
Order. All rise.
That's case number 354 on the calendar in the matter of Smith versus Ware.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Ms. Smith, you and the defendant dated for a period of time and signed a 6-month lease together in August of 2006.
That is correct.
How long had you been dating before you decided to move in with him?
I met him in March, so I was dating under 6 months.
I ask that not because it's particularly relevant, but I'm conducting my own sociological study. I want to see how quickly it is that people make this
Mistake.
Right.
Yes.
In any event, your lawsuit says that you moved in August.
Yes. August 5th.
And you moved out in?
September 25th.
Right. So the living together at least saved you a bad marriage.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Good. It is your claim that Mr. Ware is responsible for half of a cruise that you booked with his consent and his agreement to pay for half of the trip. It was a non-refundable amount of money. It was $2,000, $1,000 for you, $1,000 for him, which, of course, he didn't go on.
Correct.
Because the cruise was scheduled for?
October 13th. October 7th, excuse me.
Did you take anyone else with you?
No.
So you had the cabin all by yourself?
I sure did.
So let's deal with that first. You moved in August. Things started to go downhill right away. I don't have to know the why. It was not good. You were both not unhappy with the separation. Is that right?
Yes.
You moved out, but you continued to pay the rent. Your half of the rent.
I did.
Does she still continue to pay her half of the rent?
Up until December.
I think she's a princess. And you continued to live there?
Yes, I did.
All by yourself?
And my kids, when I had them for visitation, yes, I did.
Well, isn't that nice?
Yep.
So you had a great place to live. Are you still living there?
Until January 6th.
And then what happens?
I received a 30-day notice.
Why?
Because she didn't pay her, as it states in this letter, she didn't pay for December's rent.
Why didn't you pay?
I paid my half.
Why didn't you pay the whole thing?
Because I have a written agreement from her that says that she would pay the half as long as I didn't have a roommate.
I'm telling you, she's really been a princess. If she's paid September, October, and November, and she hasn't lived there, and you've lived there with your kids, so how old are you?
Me, 37.
Why don't you take care of your own responsibilities? Where are you going after January? They gave you a 30-day notice. Where do you intend to go?
Oh, I'll find a place. No, none in mind right now.
What do you mean you have none in mind?
Well, I'm looking.
How much rent do you pay?
$675.
Is that the entire rent?
No.
Or just your half?
That's my half.
Okay. When you moved in to that apartment, where had you been living just prior to that?
With my boss, as well as Christina.
With your boss?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I am a cabinet installer.
And you lived in your boss's house?
Yes, I did. As well as he's a friend as well.
Before you lived with your boss, where did you live?
I lived with my friend, me and a friend named Brian.
And when you lived with Brian, how much rent did you pay?
About $300 a month because it was just for a room.
How many children do you have?
2.
How much child support do you pay?
The child support is, my son is not legally mine. I accepted that responsibility when he was born, and after she went after his real father for child support, so they dismissed that court order, and for Bella it's $246, I think it is.
How much child support do you pay?
$246.
He doesn't pay child support.
When was the last time you paid child support, Mr. Ware?
It's been a couple of years because my ex-wife put a letter in. She said that when she required me to pay child support, that I didn't see the kids regularly, so she wrote a letter to the district attorneys in Sacramento County.
That's hearsay. I just asked you a simple question. When was the last time you paid child support? You said several years ago.
Yeah.
You just told me that you used your apartment, sir, this apartment that you were living in and having half the rent paid by the plaintiff for both yourself and your children when you had them. So clearly you were seeing your children within the last 3 or 4 months.
Yes.
But you haven't been paying child support.
No.
Is this your boss?
Yes, it is.
How did I know that? Are you paid on the books or off the books?
On the books. I'm 1099.
And how much was your 1099 last year?
I didn't work for him last year.
Yes, he did.
That's,
Mr. Ware, he doesn't even want to stand up anymore and get involved with this, sir. Did you file tax returns last year?
no, I did not.
You just told me you lived with your boss last year before you moved in with her.
Last year.
What's your last name, sir?
McWee, ma'am.
You want to leave now?
No, ma'am.
You might want to rethink that. You get me? Good. So you're paid in cash and you don't pay taxes and you don't pay child support. supposed to pay your own rent.
I did, my half.
Well, you didn't pay, no, your own rent. Listen to me, Mr. 37 years old. You live in this country. You work for him. You're supposed to pay taxes like everybody else, which you don't do. You have children, 2, or maybe just 1. They come to visit you, and yet you have no fiscal responsibility for them. The rest of her lawsuit is, she says, A, she made a small loan to you for a lawyer. I'm not so interested in that, $199. But she said that you had no credit. Well, the reason you have no credit is because you allegedly have no income. So that she put all the utilities in her name. She put all the utilities in her name, left them in her name because she had no credit, and you didn't pay the bill, even when she was paying her half of the rent. Sir?
I was giving her half my check. She went over to my boss's house and received money from them.
You mean after she moved out?
After she moved out?
I'm talking about after she moved out.
After she moved out, I told her she threatened to turn everything off. I told her to go ahead and turn everything off.
Oh, she should have.
So?
And she didn't.
And she didn't.
And did you turn the lights on?
I couldn't.
Listen to me. Did you turn the lights on?
Yes, I did.
Did you turn the stove on?
Yes,
did you
I did.
plug in a coffee maker?
Yes, I did.
So you used the juice. When you use the juice, you have to pay for it. Did you use the telephone?
Yes, I did.
If you use the telephone, you have to pay for it. You know, just like if you're an American citizen and you use the roads and you use the other services that the government provides, you have to pay taxes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The dish bill came to $292.23. I actually put a passcode on there around October when I found out there was adult movies rented on there.
He had to do something to keep himself occupied.
And later today,
He said he was not going to give up on the relationship, and when I told him that he did not have a choice because I was done, he started punching himself in the face.
Show me how he did that.
Christina Smith claims ex-boyfriend Gerald Ware Jr. owes for his share of a cruise vacation, utility bills, and a loan to retain an attorney.
How much were your electric bills and service bills after you moved out? I'm talking about just for him.
Yes, the dish bill came to $292.23. I actually put a passcode on there around October 20th when I found out there was adult movies rented on there.
He had to do something to keep himself occupied. Next.
Sure West bill was $260.14.
Is that it?
Yes, and if you're not going to do the attorney bill.
No. $552, rounding it out, Bert. Thank you. Is that about right?
Yes.
No sense. Good. $552. Now, let's talk about the cruise, Mr. Ware. You told her to go ahead and book the cruise?
The cruise was planned before I met her. We had been talking about it amongst friends before she moved in, and her sister is a friend of my boss.
Did you tell her to go ahead and book the cruise?
No, I did not.
That's
I
not
told
what
my-
you said
my-
here, sir.
My boss's wife booked
That's
the cruise.
not what you said here, sir, in your answer. Just because you broke up doesn't mean that you don't pay for half the cruise. You pay for half the cruise. What?
In order to get the cruise, you have to do double occupancy.
Don't speak to me sitting down.
Sorry, ma'am. We told them both prior to this going that if anything happened, that you have to pay double occupancy to get on this cruise in order to get all the cabins together. So I said, if something happens, you can't change it, you can't get the money back, and they were both aware of that.
You made that clear to both of them.
Correct.
Terrific. Thank you. You can sit down.
I gave Gerald every opportunity to go on that cruise.
Listen, it happened. He's got to pay for half the cruise because you're out the money. Do you understand?
No, I don't, but...
Well, it's very, very easy, sir. There's no way that you wanted to go on this cruise, and there's no way that you were going to share a cabin together. Somebody was going to go on the cruise. Now, it is my sense that if you said to her, I will give you the $2,000, I will go on the cruise instead of you, she would have said, great.
No.
She would have said to you, great. You go on the cruise, and I won't. But right now, she had $2,000 invested in this cruise, and she hadn't seen a penny from you.
Yes, she had, ma'am.
Oh, really? You paid for some?
I was giving her all my checks that I was receiving from him.
Checks?
To
You
pay
get
for...
cash?
Listen to me.
Well, cash. To pay for credit card bills that were outstanding
We're
when we
not
met.
talking credit card bills, sir.
That's
We're talking
how the
about the cruise.
That's how the cruise was paid, on credit card.
How much money were you giving her?
I was receiving $500 a week.
In what?
In cash.
I love it when a game plan comes together. Just think of it this way, sir. It's your contribution to taxes. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,552.
Judge,
That's all.
I have some joy. I want to get back to his daughter.
Perfect. That's all. Thank you.
All right, excused. You may step out.
I would never put what I owe and what things I have to pay on her, I never did that.
He's taken advantage of, and he lied throughout the whole relationship.
My monetary situation never affected her.
And I went through a marriage like that, and I'm not going to do it again.
20-year-old Scott Tarvin is suing the mother of his daughter, 20-year-old Sarah Heenahan, for smashing his car window with a propane tank.
Order. All rise.
Is suing her estranged husband, David Fortier, for the cost to change the locks on her home and for breaking her windshield.
All rise.
That's case number 118 on the calendar in the matter of Fabrini versus Fortier. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Ms. Fabrini, this is your husband. You are currently separated. You have children together, and you have two claims against him.
Yes, Your
First one is that you caught him trespassing in your home, as a result of which you had to change the locks in the house. You want him to pay for the changed locks. And on the same date, he was angry and vandalized your car, and you want him to pay for that. Mr. Fabrini does not deny that he was in the house. He said he was supposed to be babysitting for the children that day, and he does, however, deny that he did anything to your car. So I have some questions. How long have you been separated?
Since 2003, Your Honor. I've changed my...
Just a second.
Sorry.
Are you legally separated?
Yes, we are. I have separation papers here.
Okay, so you have a legal writing, but there's never been a judicial determination of separation. Is that right?
Yes.
Is that right, sir?
Yeah.
How long were you married?
Well, we've been together 16 years.
And how many children do you have, Mr. Fortier?
3.
How old are they? 13,
12, and 7.
Been separated a long time. Is there any reason why you're not divorced?
I don't want a divorce. I mean, we pretty well set our life, and instead of, trying to make it harder, I'm trying to make it, get back together for the sake of the kids, not just for the selfish reasons.
Did you stay in the marital home, Ms. Fabrini?
No. I signed over the 2 houses we owned at the time of marriage. I let him have them. I never asked him for child support. I'm the one who ended the marriage. I bought my own house in 2003.
Okay, so the house that you say he was trespassing in
was my house.
Was your house,
Yes,
not the
ma'am.
marital home?
No.
And when was this, Ms. Fabrini?
On June 1st,
Okay, tell me what happened.
I came home from work, and Mr. Fortier was sitting at my kitchen table, and I asked him how he got in the house. He obviously stole keys from me. I've never given him a set of keys to my house. Of course, he denies it. I don't know if you're still denying it, but...
Well, just a second. So on June 1st, you found him sitting at the kitchen table.
Yes.
And what did he say to you when you confronted him?
He denied the fact that he had my keys, and I asked him what he was doing in my house, and he was waiting for the children to come home. And I told him, you're not allowed in my house unless I invite you in. So he refused to give. We had an argument. I kicked him out, so he was kind of like angry with me.
And what happened?
He left, and I just forgot about it, did my own thing with the kids. And that night I went to bed, and the kids told me...
Don't tell me what the kids told you, because that's hearsay.
Well, the next morning when I woke up, the windshield in my car was smashed. So I figured he did it.
You have any proof that he did it?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
I'd like to hear the proof.
I have a witness.
Witness's name?
Sabrina Weeks.
Sabrina Weeks. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth in these matters?
Yes.
Can't hear you.
Yes.
Sabrina, how old are you?
12.
And how do you know Miss Fabrini?
Her daughter.
My daughter. She's her best friend.
Okay, is that how you know each other?
Yeah.
She sleeps over at my house all the time.
Okay, were you sleeping at Miss Fabrini's home on June the 1st?
Yes.
Did you witness anything with regard to her car?
Yes.
Tell me what you saw.
Okay, I was sleeping over, and we were sleeping, and me and her heard a loud crash, and we went to look at the window, and we saw Dave with a crowbar over by the car.
And you're sure it was Mr. Fortier?
Yes.
Mr. Fortier, how did you get into the house on June the 1st?
Well, I had keys.
You had keys. Where did you get the keys from, sir?
Well, I had them from, she gave it to me to come and babysit.
Sorry, Your
No,
Honor.
shh, stop. Miss Fabrini, don't say anything. Now, Mr. Fortier, do you pay child support for your children?
Well, no, but...
The answer is no.
No.
Why not?
Well, I still pay for stuff around their house.
What do you pay for regularly?
And the car, her car insurance,
Your Honor,
Do you not pay child support, sir, because your wife never asks you for child support?
No, well, she should have asked. If she wanted so, just ask.
Mr. Fortier, put your hand down, please. Do you have a lawyer in this matrimonial proceeding?
Right now, no.
Mr. Fortier, do you know my background, what kind of work I used to do before I did this work?
No.
I was a judge in the family court, and I was in the family court for 25 years. And you don't have a lawyer, so I feel comfortable about giving you this advice. It's both personal advice and professional advice, sir. And I don't know whether anybody's ever said it to you. You look like a very nice man, but you look like a sad man because you don't have your family with you. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, correct.
My sense from you, sir, is you don't have your family with you. And there is good reason that you and your wife are not together. She wanted out of this marriage so badly that she gave up certain rights that every one of the states of our union mandate, which is that a non-custodial parent pays child support. There isn't a judge in this country that would permit, without serious inspection, an order that said that a non-custodial parent wasn't paying child support. You haven't paid child support for 3 years. So my sense is that your wife wanted out of this marriage that badly that she said, you take the houses, you take the property, you take everything, just give me my freedom.
Yeah, that's her saying. She makes it sound like it's been hell. But
just a second. I understand what you're saying, but what you're saying is that you don't want a divorce because you want your family back together. Mr. Fortier, you're 40 years old. You're a young man. It's young. Believe me, from where I'm sitting, 40 is young. I would take it tomorrow, Mr. Fortier. I'm giving you advice that some people would pay a lot of money for. You've got to put a period and move on. Not with your children. Your children will always be your children, and they will only have one father. There's no question about that. They're old enough to know that you're their father. Nobody's going to substitute for a father. You're their father. But this lady doesn't want to live with you anymore. So you have to put a period and say, this portion of my life, no matter how painful it is for me, is over. I have to move on. And the first thing you have to do is you have to consent to a divorce, Mr. Fortier.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Next time, don't do it. I mean,
Listen to me. I know that you're angry.
just tell him to leave me alone.
Listen to me.
What's he gonna break?
Stop it.
And later today,
What kind of concert was it?
It was a reggae festival.
Where do you stay?
I ended up having to sleep on the side of a road.
Sounds delicious.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mary Fabrini claims her estranged husband, David Fortier, stole the keys to her home and smashed the windshield of her car.
Now, put a period and say, it's over. And the longer you prolong that, the more damage you're going to do to your children. You and your wife brought these children into the world because you wanted to create a loving home for them and want to see them grow up to be wonderful people. You didn't bring them into this world to hurt them. But with the kind of stress you're putting on their mother, that's hurting your children. So you have to stop being selfish, Mr. Fortier, because what you're really doing is being selfish. Not to her, forget her, but she's the custodial parent for your children. She takes care of them. And what you're doing is creating a stressful environment for them. And you have to stop. Really, you have to stop. Because not only is it bad for them, it's also not right for you. You're 40 years old. You have to give yourself a chance to go out and have another life. You're young. You're young. You're never going to be without your kids. But you want to give them the best possible shot of growing up stress-free. And right now you're creating stress for your children. Because there isn't a question in my mind. I don't have to ask you. Isn't a question in your mind that you damaged her car. This little girl wouldn't come here and lie. No question. You were so angry that your wife said to you, this is my house. I bought this house. You can't be here. That you didn't have control, that you tried to regain control and you damaged her car. You're hurting yourself, but you're also hurting your children because your 12-year-old daughter, Shauna, saw you do that to her mother's car. She saw you be so angry. That's not healthy, Mr. Fortier. You have to stop. And if you need help stopping, spend some of the money that you're not giving to your wife and child support to go get some help. I gave you my best advice. It's advice that has 40 years backing it up. Put a period. Move on. Let it go. Okay. Change the locks were $124. To fix the windshield was $534.
And 3 days off work.
Why did you take 3 days off from work?
I couldn't drive to work. The windshield was broken. It took me 3 days because I had to pay for it, repair it, and then get to work. It's my work vehicle.
Do you get paid by the week?
Yes, I do.
So you got paid for the week?
Oh, I didn't get paid that week. I have 3 days that weren't missing.
But did you get paid for the week?
No, I didn't. I'm sorry.
How much do you make a day?
$80 a day. And I have a paycheck stub here, too.
I'd like to see it.
And that's without my bonuses, so I'm letting him off a little easy. Next time, don't do it. I mean,
listen to me, Miss Fabrini. Miss Fabrini.
Yes?
I want you to listen to me. I know that you're angry.
Yes, Your Honor.
I don't know whether whatever I said to him had any impact.
I hope so.
Shh. A little bit, maybe?
I hope not.
Shh. I'm asking him.
Yeah, of course.
A little bit?
Just tell him to leave me alone.
Listen to me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You gotta stop it.
Okay.
Let it settle in with him.
What's he gonna break?
Stop it. I get that you're angry. And I get that there was reason why you gave up all those things. I don't want to go into it.
Yes, Your Honor.
You got to move on. Because you're hurting your children and you're hurting yourself. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $898. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of King versus Mistake.
Kathleen King is suing her cousin's boyfriend, Edward Mistake, for illegally repossessing a Cutlass Supreme he sold her. Edward claims Kathleen refused to insure the vehicle.
Ms. King, the defendant is your cousin's boyfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
The relationship. And you purchased a car from him.
Yes.
You purchased a car from him for $2,000. According to your complaint, you gave him a $500 deposit with an agreement to pay him $250 a month until the balance was paid. You paid him an additional $250, the first month's payment. He does not deny that, correct?
I do not deny it.
$750 is what you paid him. During the month that you had the car, according to you, you also put some money into the car to get it running. That I'm not considering, madam. You buy a used car. That's how old? How old was this car you sold?
1990.
1990.
Yep.
You buy a 16-year-old car, you do so at your own peril. Anybody with half a noodle understands that. So I'm not considering any of the money that you put into the car. Right now, I'm considering the $750 that you gave him for the car in a period of 1 month. And then Mr. Mistake repossessed the car.
Correct.
He says he repossessed the car because you told her that she had to have full insurance on the car, which includes collision as well as liability, and she didn't have full insurance on the car.
Correct.
Can I see your contract? The contract that you executed, that both of you signed, reads as follows. I, Edward A. Mistake, am selling my 1990 Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme to Kathy for $2,000 in as-is condition. You signed it and she signed it. So where, sir, do you think that you have the right to add an additional condition to this contract?
When I initially wanted to sell her the car, she agreed to getting full coverage. I wrote out a...
Listen to me very carefully. This is your contract.
Yep.
With her.
Yep.
Period. If you wanted as a condition of this sale that she had full coverage on the car until you were completely paid, you put it in the contract. You get me?
I'm not a car dealer, Your Honor.
I don't give a rat's two whether you're a car dealer or whether you repair antennas on Mars. If you have a contract with her, you have absolutely no right, if she has fulfilled her terms of the contract, to take the car back. Put your hand down.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Have you been cheated? Go to judgejudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Where is the car?
I have it.
It goes back to her.
To rent a car for a month
Listen
and a half?
to me, sir, very carefully. Sir, I am preparing an order which will be executed by a marshal. The car goes back to her. You have sold it to her. You cannot repossess the car on any other condition.
I have a witness stating that she take this piece back. The car's not worth it.
Listen to me. If she doesn't want the car back,
That's what she told
Mr.
me.
Mistake,
Yep.
she's going to tell me. And if she doesn't want the car back, then she gets nothing because she made an agreement. Now, I only have one question for you, Miss King. Do you want this car back?
If I'm not going to get the money back?
You are not getting the money, madam, because he is going to give you the car, which is what you bargained for. But
yes.
then you have to pay him. Do you understand?
I understand.
Very good. I will sign an order. The marshal will execute that order. You get your car back, madam, and you start paying him the money. Thank you very much. That's all.
Pardon your excuse. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
She wasn't happy with the car, and she, I could take it back, and now they're giving her the car back.
I'm not too happy. I didn't want the car back. I wanted my money back.
The plaintiff's and my cousin, she knew beforehand, before she even got the vehicle, that she needed full insurance.
They took advantage of me.
I'm done with it. I don't need to have a cousin. I have plenty of other family.
She's dead to me.
Christine Daly is suing the father of her child, Henry Geib, for rent, truck payments, and damage to their apartment. Christine claims Henry has an anger problem.
Come to order, all rise.
That's case number 150 on the calendar in the matter of Daly versus Geib. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Daly, you and the defendant lived together for a period of time and you have a child together. It is your claim that while you were living together, you covered the expenses for both of you while Mr. Geib was not working or not contributing to the household. You want him to cover those expenses.
Yes.
And in addition, you say that because of his bad temper, he punched holes in the walls of the apartment, so that you're going to be charged for that. Now, Mr. Geib says that there was never a loan. You two people lived together. You covered expenses when he wasn't working. And as far as the holes in the walls, Mr. Geib acknowledges that he made them.
Yes.
He says that he has an anger problem and that you know how to push his buttons so he hit the wall instead of hitting you. For that, he should be praised. Right? When did you move in together, Mr. Geib?
I believe it was December of last year.
2005?
Yes.
2004, December 2004.
And you lived together until when?
Till April of this year.
And when did Mr. Geib lose his job or become unemployed?
Well, several months after he moved in early 2005, he lost his job.
Did he move into your apartment?
Actually, yes. I was renting a house at the time.
Who were you living there with before he moved in with you?
Myself.
Just yourself?
Yes.
And the lease was in your name?
Yes.
What was your financial arrangement with him?
Well, of course, he's an able-bodied person, and we were going to split the rent.
Is that what you discussed?
Yes.
Did he pay half in December 2004?
Yes.
January 2005?
Yes.
February 2005?
Yes.
March 2005?
Yes.
April 2005?
Yes.
May?
Yes.
June?
Yes.
July?
No.
Okay. July 2005, he stopped paying his half.
Right.
Because he lost his...
He quit his job.
Why did you quit your job, Mr. Geib?
Well, I didn't quit my job. I kind of, what happened was one guy got blamed of stealing some equipment, and they said it was me. And I told them, no, it wasn't me. So they didn't believe me, so they fired me anyway.
Did you collect unemployment?
No, I didn't.
Well, how'd you support yourself?
Just doing like side jobs. I do construction on the side, just for cash money.
What do you mean for cash money? What does that
like,
mean?
under kind of not taxed or anything like that, so.
Well, but what did you do with the money when you worked? Did you give it to Miss
her.
Daly?
I gave it to her, yeah.
And that was in July?
Yeah. I gave her all my money, everything.
Well, good. And what about in August? Did he pay you in August?
Yes.
September?
Yes.
October?
Mm-hmm.
November?
Mm-hmm.
December?
No.
Did he pay you in January
No.
of 06? February of 06?
No.
Why don't you throw him out?
Well, because he was the father of my son, and the thing is that he was needing help. I thought I'd help him out because he had a lot of issues.
He certainly has issues.
Psychological issues or something, and I thought if I helped him, he'd turn things around and we could be a family together.
Well, he didn't.
Well, he kept promising me that he'd turn things around and he'd take these courses, and so I kept...
You mean anger courses?
Not just anger courses, other courses, couples therapy, we tried that. We also went to a couple of different mental hospitals to get him some pills to make his anger
You
more
working now,
controlled.
Mr. Geib?
I'm in between jobs.
How are you supporting yourself?
I'm helping a lady finish her house construction.
Where are you living?
Linwood.
With whom?
Her and her son.
With a lady?
Yeah.
Mr. Geib, I want you to tell me, sir, about the holes that you punched in the walls of Miss Daly's house.
Basically, every day I'd come home from work or wherever, Christina, she would just follow me with all these complaints, you know, and we'd have our sit-down time for a couple minutes, you know, but then she would just follow me, complaining about everything, you know, and I just, okay, I told her I would try to help, I'd try to fix it. Then, I don't know, I just started losing my temper after a while, and then I would try to go to another room, she would follow me there, and it got to a point where I just kind of lost my temper a few times.
Do you have an estimate for the damage to the house?
Yes, I do.
Can I see it, please?
Do you want to see photos or just estimate?
Sure.
Okay, here's the photos.
Did you knock down a couple of doors, sir?
No.
What were the doors?
The person that gave me an estimate said the holes are pretty big and it'd be better if he replaced the doors instead of patch them up, because he said it wouldn't look right. They're huge holes. They're like about this big.
You mean in the doors?
Yeah.
Did you break a mirror in the closet?
No, she said I did. She's lying. No, I didn't.
When did he break the mirror in the closet?
He got mad and he took it by his hands and went like this and shook it, and it cracked it into the...
All right.
How many times?
Mr. Gaib, first of all, I agree with your defense, sir, that you don't owe her any money for expenses when you were living there. If she chose to allow you to continue to remain in the house while you were unemployed and she thought that you would get your life together, she did so because you were a couple and she thought that you were building a life together. That's not something that creates a lawsuit. However, you are responsible for the damage that you did to the apartment when you were in these rages, because you don't get a medal for hitting the walls instead of hitting her. You understand that?
Yes.
And you think that that's reasonable, right?
Somewhat.
Well, I think it's reasonable. But there's a larger issue, Mr. Gaib. Are you currently in therapy?
No, I'm not.
You understand that you probably need therapy.
Yes.
Is there any reason why you are not in treatment? Is it because you can't afford it?
No, it's free. I just, I missed my last appointment and I never rescheduled.
Were you at any time on medication?
Yes.
When did you go off your medication?
When I ran out.
When did you run?
About a month ago.
A month ago.
He quit taking them.
Shh. How long had you been on the same medication, Mr. Gaib?
About 4 months.
You were working with a therapist?
Yes.
Was the medication helping you?
Yes.
Do you remember what kind it was?
Prozac.
When you ran out, why didn't you go back to the therapist, Mr. Gaib?
I don't know. I don't know.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You need to see a therapist and get back on that medication. You have to do it, Mr. Gaib. It's not fair to you, and it's not fair for the children that you brought into the world. Please?
And later today.
Where is he?
I don't know. He's hanging out somewhere around.
Well, what'd you bring him for?
Going to L.A. with the guy that's going to hang out.
There are days I like this job better than others.
Father of her child, Henry Gaib, owes for household bills and repair costs resulting from his anger problem.
Okay. How old are you?
37.
You have any family here?
My dad and aunt and uncle.
Do you have a relationship with your father?
Not really.
Aunt and uncle?
No.
I'm telling you, someone who's, been around the block a little bit. You need to see a therapist and get back on that medication. Made you feel better? You have one child?
Two.
You owe them the ability to interact with them peacefully. You have to feel comfortable yourself. You have to feel as if you have a certain center in your life so that you can work, not have fights with people, with your jobs. And if that means that you have to be in therapy where it's free and you can get this medication, which is also available to you, you have to do it, Mr. Gaib. It's not fair to you. And it's not fair for the children that you brought into the world. Please? In the meantime, you have to pay for the holes in the wall, $745. That's all. Thank you.
There's a truck payment involved. He hasn't paid for his truck. I co-signed for his truck. I paid over $2,000 in truck payments.
That may be. And what you have to do is you have to have the truck repossessed.
He won't give it back to me. I tried twice.
You have a bank loan?
Yes, but that'll ruin my credit. They said that if it was voluntary repossession, it would ruin my credit.
That may be. I can't help you with that, because in order to cover the shortfall in the payments, you have to have the truck repossessed and sell it.
But that'll ruin my credit, though.
Well, I can't help that, madam. Then you have to think about that before you co-sign for a truck for him. You're a grown-up girl.
I know, but he wrote me a promissory note, which he stole back from me, saying that I wouldn't have to make any payments.
What you have to do is notify the lending company to repossess the truck, because you will no longer be making payments. And I would do that as quickly as possible before the debt becomes greater, because the quicker they repossess the truck and the quicker they sell it, the less money you will owe.
So I'm being stiffed for rent and truck payments and everything else?
No,
because
you're not being stiffed for the rent.
I am, because no one's paying for this.
He's paying for the damage that he did.
That's nothing compared to what I paid for rent and the truck payments.
Are you living in the same house?
Not anymore.
You're not living in the house anymore?
What happened was we moved out together at a second residence. He moved in December. We moved into the new place in July. He got under the lease with me in the new apartment, and that's when he started to not work and he didn't pay me.
Yeah, she changed the locks on Easter on me too.
Well, he
illegally.
was a domestic violence. He hit me, and I called the police out, and they had to come and get him, and he ran away. And the social services stepped in and said that if I let him back in the house, how am I supposed to protect my son from him?
You're absolutely right.
I had to let him know that he couldn't come back.
Right.
But you know what it is? When you trust someone and you love someone and he promises to pay you, I mean, isn't that what a relationship's all about, where you're supposed to hopefully believe that the person's going to come through every time they promise you something?
If you let him go and let him go and let him go and he doesn't pay, and you let it go and you let it go because you're hoping things are going to turn around, there comes a point where he doesn't believe and has no sense of his responsibility. And what you did was, according to your complaint, you said to him, we'll straighten out when you get your act together. He's never going to get his act together unless he gets back on therapy and back on his medication. Do you understand? It's not going to happen. So unfortunately, your credit may be ruined, but you have to notify the lending company to repossess the truck. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $745. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Which way do we go?
He owes me money. He's not paying child support. I don't see why he should be able to come see his son.
She can't say that. That's my son, you know?
He punched holes in the walls, and watching someone do that on a daily basis, you don't think that's abuse?
She's trying to change me. She's trying to mold me.
It's not like I'm telling him he needs to change. He was needing help because he had problems, issues, of course.
She's psycho.
He's done enough damage to last quite a long time.
We'd start arguing. I would try to walk away into a different room, but she would follow me right behind me, just like a little bird or something.
He's ruining my life as we speak.
Is she going to put a hit on me or what? I mean, I don't know.
17-year-old Angelica Herron is suing her mother, Valerie Tyndall, for an unpaid loan.
You were there?
Yes.
So, okay, you sit down. So anyway, I paid off his school bills for his daycare. I caught up on some other bills. Then we scheduled the trip for Orlando. I got a job. It didn't work out. I didn't know when I was going to receive my paycheck. It was due to come before we were supposed to go to Universal Studios, which that money would have paid our other expenses. I told her we would have to push the trip back because we didn't have the money to go, and she got quite angry about that.
I got the picture. What did she do with the rest of the $22,000?
She partied, Your Honor. She did a lot of partying.
Who is this young lady?
That is her friend.
That she's living with?
I assume so, Your Honor.
You living together?
Sometimes.
Basically.
What is that? Sometimes, basically, what is that? Who's going to answer my question?
No, I'm not living with her.
Who are you living with?
Nobody. I sleep on whatever couch is available. I don't have anywhere to be.
Get a job.
I'm trying.
Get a life. Get responsible. And stop blaming everybody else for your misfortune. The only problem is they shouldn't have given you all this money when you turned 18. They should have waited until you were 25 so that you didn't blow it. Because right now you're going to get all this money because you think, I don't have to work. What do I have to work for? 6 months I'm going to get another $20,000. 6 months I'm going to get another $20,000. I'll worry about it later. That's a baby talking.
It's not like that, though.
Listen to me. Have you had a steady job in the
Yes.
last year?
I did.
When?
I had my own apartment for 7 months.
Tell me when you had a steady...
From September of 05 until February of 06.
Where did you work?
I worked at Applebee's and Red Lobster.
So why did you leave that job?
Because I came to Michigan to be with my son.
Are you telling me you were working full-time as a waitress, I assume?
No, I was a cook and a dishwasher.
So why didn't you get that kind of a job when you moved in with your mother?
I tried. You can even
Miss
ask
Herron,
her. She told me not to get a job. She told me to spend quality time with Dylan so we could get our bond back together. That's exactly what she said.
Very good. Get a life. And if I were you, I'd get a financial person to take the money, the next check that I get. And when are you supposed to get the next check?
When I'm 21.
Oh, so you got to wait a little bit. Got to wait 2 years.
The only reason I got this check sooner is because I went through a settlement funding to get it sooner, so I could do something.
Oh, so they discounted your settlement. Huh?
Yes.
So how much are you going to get?
When I'm 21, I get $10,000. When I'm 25, I get 15.
So they gave you a total of about $50,000 for $100,000.
Yeah.
Goodbye. Genius. Goodbye. Get lost. Your case is dismissed. Go. Have a happy life. Don't give that baby back to her.
I'm not going.
Good.
Okay, no, wait, no.
It breaks my heart because I'm not trying to keep her son from her. She talks to him on the phone. He's here, right here in the studio. I told her that she could see him.
She didn't tell me anything. She just stayed and just left. Like she's trying to erase me out of his life or something.
Under advisement from a therapist that he is seeing, he advises me to keep him away from her.
I want my baby.
She needs to grow up and fix her life.
Janet Knock is suing her niece, 25-year-old Danielle DiGiovanni, for an unpaid loan to get back on her feet after Hurricane Katrina. Danielle claims her aunt gave her the money.
Yeah, this is case number 219 on the calendar in the matter of Knock versus DiGiovanni.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, ma'am. Have a seat.
Miss Knock, the defendant is your niece?
Yes.
Is that your sister's child or your brother's?
Yes, my sister-in-law's child, my husband's sister's child.
Husband's sister's daughter?
Yes.
And it is your claim that you made a loan to her after Hurricane Katrina. She was a victim of Hurricane Katrina.
That's right.
And you loaned her $3,000.
No, I loaned her $5,000, but the maximum that I could sue for in the courts in the New Orleans area is $3,500.
So the loan was for $5,000?
The loan was for $5,000 originally.
And the defendant says you never made a loan to her. She received the money from you. It was a very generous gift. So I have a couple of questions for you. The money that you gave to her was money that you took out of savings?
No, I had to actually make a loan.
You took out a loan?
Yes.
To give her the money?
Yes.
From where did you take out the loan?
Originally, it was from my bank, and then I had it transferred to a credit card because for the first 6 months, it would be 0% interest.
So you are paying that back?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Do you work?
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do?
I work in a nursery as a horticulturist and gardening consultant.
How many people live in your household?
My husband, myself, my 2 sons.
How old are your sons?
One is 20 and one is 22.
Do they work, go to school? What do they do?
My youngest son is trying to prepare for college.
So he's preparing?
He's preparing right now. We have to get money together and everything for that.
And your oldest son?
My oldest son is working.
Your husband?
My husband works.
What kind of work does he do?
He has a degree in broadcast journalism, but he's working at a trucking company.
Okay, so you're a hard-working family.
Yes, we are.
Do you own your own home?
Yes, we do.
Have
It's
a
still
mortgage?
not paid for.
And what about you, Miss Giovanni? How old are you?
I'm 25.
What do you do?
I am a sales rep for a jewelry store in New Orleans as of 2 weeks ago.
And before that?
Before that, I was very ill throughout the beginning of the year. I did not hold a job because I was in and out of the hospital.
What was wrong with you?
I was raped in January. In February, I was diagnosed with cervical cancer. Through my treatment, I got bit by a brown recluse spider. I was hospitalized for 2 weeks, so I was on medication for most of the year, so I was unable to get a job.
Prior to that, where were you working?
I was a manager at Sweet Fire and Ice, which is a Copeland's establishment that's really popular in New Orleans. I'd been with them for 3 years.
Okay. Now, Ms. Knock, would you tell me about the circumstances surrounding this, according to you, loan?
We had altogether around 13 people in our house at one time after Katrina, and also their dogs, which had amounted to...
Your Honor.
Shh, don't interrupt her. Don't interrupt her. Okay. Don't read. Just tell me.
Oh, okay.
You had 13 people, family members.
Plus their dogs, like 7 dogs.
And these 13 family members, they were your husband's family members.
Yes.
They came to your home right after Katrina?
Right.
With their assorted pets, etc.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
But it was a little rough for a while. Danielle told me that she was going to be staying in the Atlanta area anyway because this restaurant that she was working for was opening up a new branch. So she had to find a place to live with her fiance and her little girl, who was about 2 years old at the time. And she said she had
Who was
lost...
also staying with you off and on?
Off and on, yes, and I babysat her a lot also.
Okay.
And they ended up renting a house in the Atlanta area. She said that she was maxed out with cash and she was waiting for her FEMA check to come in. But she asked in the meantime if I could make her a loan of $5,000 and that she would pay me back as soon as she got her FEMA check.
Okay, and that was the loan.
And that was the loan, yes.
When did you give her the money?
It was on the 23rd of November. When I got the loan, I had that transferred into my account, and then I had $5,000 transferred into her account from my account. And I had to write a physical check for that, and I have that here.
I don't think that there's any issue as to whether or not you turned the money over to her. And she hasn't paid you any money back?
No, she...
Okay. Did you, Miss Giovanni, get a FEMA check?
No, ma'am, I have not received any money from FEMA.
Did your fiancé get a FEMA check?
Yes, ma'am, he did.
For how much?
I'm not exactly sure. We're no longer together.
When you were together, however, he got the FEMA check.
He got $2,000 prior to her dispersing the money into my account, Your Honor. We got there in September. When we first evacuated, we went to Texas for 3 weeks with my family.
Let me explain something to you.
Okay.
I'm not interested in your story, quite frankly. I'm interested in you telling me about your defense, which is this money was a gift. So I'd like to hear how the money came about.
The money came about because I was leaving to come back 3 days after Halloween. We came back to Louisiana. My aunt and I still kept in touch. She dispersed the money to me on November 23rd.
Well, explain it to me. How did that happen?
She said that she would help me. She knew that me and my mother did not get along, and she said that, you know, I know you don't want to stay with your mother. She said, well, I'll help you out. My cousin Anna, she went ahead and got a loan for her because her car was broken for $10,000.
Your cousin
Anna.
Who was that?
This lady sitting right over here.
Who cares?
I'm just telling you that $10,000 that she received from Anna, she said, I have an extra $5,000. I will put it into your account and I will go ahead and help you get back up on your feet. I never once told her that when I received the FEMA check that I would be paying her back.
Why not?
It's not that. It was not discussed on whether if I should pay it back or anything like that.
Well, why would somebody who works very hard, who has 2 children, one of whom can't go to college because they haven't put the money together, give you $5,000 that they didn't expect to be paid back?
If they were trying to get him in college, wouldn't they have used that money to get him in college instead of helping me out? I'm sorry,
That's what you think.
But I wasn't living with her. I did not stay with her, Your Honor. I stayed there one night. I was there a week.
What difference does that make, Ms. DiGiovanni?
The difference makes, Your Honor, is that she was harassing my family and telling my family that she gave me the money and then I spent it on a breast augmentation.
Well, just a minute.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You have a piece of paper that says what?
That he paid for it as
I don't care if he paid for it. Didn't you hear what I just said to you?
Yes, I understand what you're saying. But
no, you don't. Not if you keep talking.
And later today,
when I first introduced Sarah to my wife, Sarah and my wife got into it. Sarah went after my wife, and my wife invited her to be in the wedding even after that.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Janet Knox says her niece, Danielle DiGiovanni, owes for a loan to get back on her feet. Janet claims instead of paying her back, Danielle got breast implants.
After you got the $5,000 from her, did you have a breast augmentation?
I did, but I didn't pay for it. And I have proof for that.
I don't care who paid for it. I don't care who paid for it. You're talking about prioritizing. You mean some friend of yours paid for it? I assume, listen to me. I assume a male friend?
It was my boyfriend, yes, ma'am.
Well, your boyfriend. So if you have a brain in your head, you say to your boyfriend, listen, I don't need bigger breasts. I have to take care of my responsibilities. If you got an extra $5,000, and if you care about me, you'll repay my aunt, who was generous enough to help me when I needed it, and I'll get bigger breasts when I have more money.
Your Honor, it was a gift.
No, it wasn't a gift.
It was a gift. I have a piece of paper.
Listen to me. You have a piece of paper that says what?
That he paid for it as a gift.
I don't care if he paid for it. Didn't you hear what I just said to you?
Yes, I understand what you're saying. But
no, you don't.
No,
Not if you keep talking. If you have a boyfriend who has a brain and a soul and a sense of moral decency, and if you have a brain and a sense of moral decency, you say, if you've got an extra try to open up your ears, you want to talk. Open
I
up
do.
your listening
I'm
ears.
listening.
You say to your boyfriend, sweetheart, I like my body the way it is. You like bigger-breasted women? You'll have to wait a little while, but if you've got an extra $5,000, I want to pay back my aunt.
It wasn't for him to pay back, Your Honor.
Listen, you're not paying attention to what I'm saying. I certainly wouldn't have spent $5,000 on myself when somebody else had given me, because I was in a state of dire emergency, taken out a loan that she is currently paying back. This wasn't extra money. This is money she's paying back every month. And instead of her paying it back every month, you should pay it back every month. Certainly don't go in and get bigger breasts while somebody is sitting there paying back money that they gave to you during the course of an emergency. And I don't care if she's harassing you and your family, because quite frankly, you deserve to be harassed. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,500. That's
Thank you so much, Your Honor.
Artie's on shoes. You may step out.
For lying.
How can I give the money if I don't work?
When I found out from her grandmother that she had a breast augmentation,
I don't understand. If I'm going to pull the money out,
I was shocked.
I became ill after my breast augmentation.
She had to have that done for her self-esteem.
I'm sure there'll be bad blood.
I really don't want to have anything to do with them anymore.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Baker versus Harding. Step forward, please.
Ann Baker is suing her son's ex-girlfriend, 23-year-old Cassie Harding, for the cost to get her out of jail. Cassie claims Ann took it upon herself to post bail.
Miss Baker, the defendant is your son's ex-girlfriend.
Correct.
And you claim she owes you some money for bail that you put up for her at her request. Ms. Harding says that the bail that you put up for her was very nice of you, but she never asked you for it and she never promised to repay you. She was with your son at the time of her arrest in October of 2004. Where is your son now?
He is currently incarcerated.
For what?
90 days for possession.
So he's had a long-standing drug problem.
This is on an old case about the same time that he was arrested with her.
Well, if he's doing 90 days now, it's because he either didn't pay a fine, he didn't do restitution, he was arrested on a warrant.
It was put off for a while because his lawyer changed.
Ms. Baker, you don't go to jail because you change your lawyer.
He pled guilty.
There you go. Now, when were you arrested, Miss Harding?
It was October 2004.
Have you already finished with that case?
Yes, I finished with it almost a year ago.
Did you plead guilty in that case?
I did.
What were the legal consequences?
I believe I had 9 months in jail.
So you had several cases?
Yes.
All drug-related?
Yes.
When were you released from prison?
May 12th, 2005.
Have you been arrested since?
No, ma'am. I've been clean for 19 months.
Great. You working?
I am.
Have anything to do with our son?
I have not talked to him for about 19 months.
Sound great. Who do you live with?
I live with my dad.
How old are you?
I'm 23. I have 2 kids.
Well, so far that's a good story. Let's hope it stays in the same course.
Yes, everything is going very well.
You were arrested with Miss Baker's son, I gather from the papers, while you were in a car, and it was for drug possession.
What happened was I was pulled over for my license plate not being illuminated. I was driving on a suspended license. It was my mother's vehicle. They asked to search the vehicle. I told them that it wasn't mine. They couldn't search it. They bring in a dog. They had the dog walk around the vehicle. The dog scratched at Luke's door. They pulled him out of the vehicle, searched him, found his paraphernalia, and then went ahead and searched the rest of the vehicle.
And you were arrested subsequently after a search, is that right?
Yes, I was arrested for driving on a suspended license and taken down to the police station and strip searched. And that's when they found the drugs on me. So.
Did you call Miss Baker?
No, I did not.
Who called you, Miss Baker?
My son got out of jail right away, and then she called him and talked to him several times, and then he talked to me about it. And then she talked to me on the phone also.
When did she talk to you?
It was about October 9th.
Was she still in jail on October 9th? Well, tell me your version of that conversation, Miss Baker.
Well, she said that she wanted to get out because she knew that she was going to go to jail later on another charge. She wanted to spend some time with her children. If I would help her get out, that she would pay me back.
You remember any part of that conversation?
No, that conversation never happened. I speak with my mother, and my kids' dad was the only parties that I talked to.
No, you called my son several times.
I'm not talking about your son. I don't care about her conversations with your son. I believe she called your son. Not so sure if I believe she talked to you. But I believe she talked to your son.
Okay.
You were, in fact, released from jail.
Mm-hmm.
Who bailed you out?
A bunch of people. My mother gave $500. My kids' dad put up a car title. Jessica put up a car title. And then Miss Baker put up a lien on her house.
Well, that's a big thing, that she put up her house for bail. Right?
Yeah.
How long were you out of jail before you negotiated a plea and went to prison?
I was out of jail for exactly 1 week, and I got arrested for new charges. Was in jail probably about a week long, then got bailed out again.
Who bailed you out the second time?
My mother. And then a week later, got arrested again on new charges, and then did the 9 months. And I do have all my cases right here.
Where's your mother?
My mother lives in Utah, in American Fork. She's still using, I don't talk to her.
Listen, this is what happened to Miss Baker. Because she put up her house as collateral for your bail, there was a problem when she went to sell her house. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
And she couldn't sell her house because there was going to be a lien on it from the bail, from a time that you were not doing well. Tell me why you believe that she should be responsible for your bail.
Because in the same aspect, she wasn't doing well either. I was supporting her drug habit. It was, all in all, very twisted. I was more or less selling drugs out of her home.
You mean Miss Baker was using drugs as well?
Yes, she is.
What kind of drugs was she using?
Meth.
You were living with her son?
No, I was not. Her son was selling for me as well.
Selling for you?
Yeah.
Did Miss Baker in any way profit from your sale of drugs?
It was pretty much I sold drugs out of her house so I wouldn't have to mind. I would give her drugs so that I could sell drugs out of her house.
So there was no cash exchanged?
No.
Just merchandise?
Yes.
Ms. Baker, I'm not going to ask you that question now. You don't have an attorney present, and I won't get involved with that. But I'm going to tell you that Miss Harding has been truthful with me so far about everything else that she's told me, about her arrests, about her drug use, about her sale. So, Ms. Baker, I'm not going to ask you those questions. But so far, I'm not real satisfied that there was an agreement between the two of you for her to pay you back. I think you did have conversations with your son, but I told you before I had serious reservations as to whether you had conversations with Miss Harding. And from a moral perspective, if there is any truth to her statement that she was selling drugs out of your house with your knowledge and was compensating you with drugs for your own use or for anybody else's use, you're going to have to eat the $1,700.
Can I bring my witness forward?
Who's your witness?
This is Danielle Miller. She's a friend of mine and my son's friend also.
You're Danielle Miller?
Ward. Excuse me, Ward. Married.
How do you know Miss Baker?
She's been a longtime friend. She's more like my mother. I'm not really friends with her son anymore, and she and I have just built a relationship.
How long were you friendly with her son?
Maybe like 6 months.
Do you know Miss Ward?
Yes, I do.
Ever involved with drugs with Miss Ward?
I was with her.
With her?
Yes.
In what way?
I used to buy drugs from him.
Yes, Mom, that's true. That's totally true. He also did his time, spent quite a while in jail, and is out, and he's doing just as well as she is, if not better.
Good. Wonderful. I'm really pleased to hear that. The issue that is before me
Yes, ma'am.
is whether or not there was a contract
right.
between these two people for Miss Harding to pay Miss Baker back the bail before she was bailed out.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you have information with regard to that?
Right.
Now I'll hear you.
Okay, she and I were preparing to take our GED test together. I recognized her. I hadn't seen her for a long time, so I approached her.
When was this?
January 25th, 2006.
Okay.
And I approached her and I asked her if she was who she was. I wasn't quite sure, and she said yes. And we started talking. The only people we have in common are the Baker family. And we were talking, and she said, yes, I heard that Ann put her house up for me to get out of jail. I was planning on paying her back as soon as I got some money.
That's nice. That doesn't make a contract. Thank you. It would have been nice if you paid her back, but I have to find that there was a pre-existing contract. A contract that existed from October of 2004 at the time she was bailed out. I did not believe Miss Baker before I knew all of this stuff about the drugs. When she said to me that she had a conversation with Miss Harding, I believe her conversations were through her son. I believe her son said, let's do everything we can to get her out. I believe that there was business going on in your house, Miss Baker. That's my sense. Business being conducted by perhaps Miss Ward's husband, certainly by Miss Harding, who acknowledges that, and probably with your son. So there was ample reason for wanting to bail Miss Harding out. And in order for me to find that she is responsible for her bail, I have to find a pre-existing contract. Yes.
I have a letter here that she wrote me from jail stating as such.
Well, let me see it.
There's the highlighted part on the second page.
Show this to the defendant, please. Did you write that?
Yeah, I did.
Well, it's clear to me that the letter says that I will get him paid like I promised. Is that right, Miss Harding?
Yeah, it does.
Anything you want to tell me?
I never promised Ann that I would pay it back.
Well, this is dated December of 2004, and this is an acknowledgement of that debt. But I will get him paid like I promised. That's what you wrote. Miss Baker, very infrequently in my career have I had to make a judgment for somebody that really stuck in my throat. I want to tell you something. This judgment really sticks in my throat because I don't think that Miss Harding and your son were the only ones who were involved in this illegal transaction. But you certainly had the evidence. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I just hope she gets her life straightened out.
She has lied in the past, and she was lying today.
It was chaotic and crazy.
There was some chaotic lifestyle, but that's all behind us.
I was just happy to be out of jail.
She was in a drug fog.
So I could be with my kids.
The bottom line is, she owed me the money.
I don't plan on having them in my future.
I'm happy we can all move on and live our lives.
Get help, get rehab.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Bender versus Fleming. Step forward.
20-year-old Leanna Bender is suing ex-boyfriend, 21-year-old Travis Fleming, for the balance on a 94 BMW. Travis claims the car was stolen and burned.
Mr. Fleming, how old are you, sir?
21 years old, ma'am.
What do you do for a living?
I work at Anchor Blue, ma'am.
What is that?
Clothing store, ma'am.
What did you do before that?
Worked at Pet Boys, ma'am.
Could you be a little slower, please?
Pet Boys.
And before that?
I worked at America's Tire, ma'am.
Before that?
Da Vinci's Pizza.
Had a lot of jobs for somebody who's only 21 years old.
Yes, ma'am.
How long did you live with Mr. Fleming, Miss Bender?
From November through February of 2006.
And at some point, decided to buy a car.
Yes,
Your
ma'am.
arrangement was as follows. This was your car, but since Mr. Fleming also needed to use a car, while it was going to be your car, you were paying for the car. In exchange for Mr. Fleming's use of the car, he was going to maintain the insurance on the car. And then you broke up.
Yes, ma'am.
According to Mr. Fleming, he complied with the terms of your agreement and maintained the insurance on the car. Correct,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Fleming? And when you broke up, he took the car.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, he took the car, despite the fact that this was your car, because he, of necessity, because he had to have an insurable interest in the car, his name had to be on the title.
Mm-hmm.
So the understanding was that it was your car. His name was going to be on the title for the sole purpose of his being able to get insurance for the car, which was his responsibility. So far, is that correct, Mr. Fleming?
Yes, ma'am.
And you took the car, and then according to you, someone stole the car, someone you don't know, and they found the car burnt to a crisp on the side of the road somewhere. So far, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And Miss Bender, because she's on the loan, you are not, she's responsible to pay off the car loan. So she said you had no right to take the car because you knew it wasn't your car, and so you're responsible for whatever happened to it. So this is my question to you, Mr. Fleming. I would like to see the statement from your insurance company indicating why, if the car was stolen and totaled, and if you maintained insurance on this car, why they have disclaimed on the policy.
I was told by my claim agent.
Don't tell me anything. I want to see a statement from your insurance company that indicates why they disclaimed on this policy.
I do not have one, Your Honor.
Why not, sir?
The only claim I do have is the one that I filed a claim for the vehicle, but the claim that I canceled for the vehicle.
The claim that you canceled?
I had a claim on the vehicle, ma'am, but the reason why I canceled it is they told me that because Miss Bender here was suing me before the car came up missing, that I should cancel it at that point in time, restate at a later time, just so that if you decide to rule as something different, it wouldn't contradict anything.
Well, that's very good. Then you deal with your insurance company. Thank you very much. Your case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You must step out.
He took it and burnt it in Madeira.
If she can't get her way and she's money hungry, she cries.
Him and his criminal friend.
Why would I steal my own personal car that's registered under my name?
They're criminals.
Well, that just means I got more paperwork to do, I guess.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lovelace versus Smith. Step forward.
21-year-old Edward Lovelace is suing his ex-girlfriend, 20-year-old Nicole Smith, and her mother, Patty, for misappropriating money meant to pay a traffic ticket.
Miss Smith, is this your daughter?
Yes, it is.
Okay. This gentleman was your daughter's boyfriend for a while.
Yes, he was.
He lived in your house?
Yes, he did.
When did he live in your house?
From March 9th, 2005 until December 2005.
Was he working at the time?
Not when he first moved in, he wasn't.
When
About
did he-
first 2 months, he was not working.
But he got a job?
Yes, but didn't pay rent except for 3 months.
When did he pay rent?
He paid $150 towards rent in June or July.
When next?
Before I left truck driving was in September. I'd say another $150 about August.
In August, and then?
And then he paid $300.
When?
For December.
December what?
15th.
When did he move out?
Right before Christmas.
When next?
And then the $400 check, right when he moved out.
When?
About the 17th, I guess, of December.
So he gave you a check for $300 on December 15th, and he gave you another check, $400.
Right.
2 days later.
Yes.
All right, good. This is what the case is about, Mr. Lovelace. According to your complaint, you were driving a truck that belonged to your girlfriend, or a van that, don't speak unless I ask you a question, that was still in her uncle's name, but her uncle had given it to your girlfriend.
Yes.
You were driving.
Yes.
And you ran a red light.
Mm-hmm.
They caught you on the camera,
Yes.
and you got a ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Ticket was $330?
Yes.
When did you get the ticket?
Oh, I believe it was the beginning of September.
And there was some problem because since the truck was in the uncle's name, arrangements had to be made to get the ticket in your name so that you could pay the ticket. It is your claim that you gave the defendants $400 to pay that ticket and whatever other miscellaneous
They
expenses
needed
there
cigarettes.
were.
Neither of them were working.
And they did not pay the ticket.
No, they didn't. They switched the ticket into my name.
When did they do that?
I'm not sure the date.
When did you do that?
It was about 2 months after he moved out.
So in February, you had tickets switched to his name.
Because there was...
Shut, don't! I'm not speaking to you.
Okay.
There was going to be a bench warrant.
I'm just asking you whether or not you switched the ticket
Yes.
into his name. 2 months later. Uncross your hands.
I cover my belly.
When were you notified that there was going to be a bench warrant for your uncle?
I was told by the plaintiff.
By the plaintiff?
That's not
When-
true, Your Honor.
Shh. When you're lying, you always make a mistake. Let me find the mistake.
Okay.
Okay? Because their story doesn't make sense to me. Their story of this $400 gift 2 days after you paid $300 in rent doesn't make sense to me.
He was moving out with no notice.
So what? He doesn't have to give you any notice. According to you, he lived there for 9 months and hardly paid you any rent. So you weren't relying on his money. He doesn't have to give you any notice. The reason he gave you the $400 was to pay this ticket, not rent. He'd already given you $300 in rent, and the problem was you got annoyed with him for moving out. So you said, well, listen, I'm going to take this money, I'm going to use it for myself, and then I'm going to have the ticket switched in his name. They're going to issue a warrant for his arrest. He's going to have to pay it again. That's outrageous. Who broke up with whom?
I broke up with her, Your Honor.
Right. How did I know that? And according to you, he left you with some credit card stuff, that he charged things on your credit card. Is that right?
A couple things.
Couple of things that you were annoyed at.
No.
Well, you say here in your answer that you were annoyed at that.
No, I was just stating the fact that he owes me money too, but we both...
Well, he owes you money too. So what you're saying is he owes you money too, but he gave you $400 for the rent. Is that what you're saying?
He gave it to...
Baloney! He gave you the money to pay the ticket, and you had no right to use it for your own purposes.
He told us that he was giving it to us to pay the rent so we wouldn't get evicted and be on the streets.
Let me explain something to you, madam. He had just given you $300 on the 15th. That's according to you. 2 days later, he gave you another $400. How much was the rent?
Pardon
How
me?
much was the rent?
$600.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $400. Your conduct was outrageous.
Thank you.
He's finished with you. You have to say goodbye. Put a period. You're not supposed to do the wrong thing. And you did the wrong thing. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He wanted me to pay the ticket, and he didn't want to have to, or get the point on his license.
I asked her for the money, and she refused to pay it.
He told us when he gave us the $400 check that it was for rent. And then now he's saying it's for paying the ticket that he got in our van.
I paid rent that month. Why would I just give her an extra $400?
I just want it behind us. I never want to see him again.
20-year-old Lonita White is suing her late fiance's sister, Kimberly Swan, for her share of his ashes. Kimberly says Lonita is not entitled to her brother's remains.
All rise.
My friend, according to your complaint, was killed. He was shot recently, and the defendant is his sister. It is your claim that she promised to give you some of his ashes.
Yes.
That he was cremated, and then changed her mind.
Yes.
Ms. Swan says that you are no relation to the family. You were not living with her brother. He was certainly not married to her brother, which would give you any legal status if you were his wife. His family has his ashes. They intend to keep them. That's what the case is about. Ms. Swan is counterclaiming for harassment of some sort. She'll tell me about that. When was your boyfriend killed?
February 15, 2006.
And how long was he your boyfriend?
For almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in July.
How old are you?
I'm 20.
Who is this?
My mother.
Just curious. If you had the ashes, what would you do with them?
I was going to keep it. That would have been the last thing I had left of my boyfriend. Well, my fiance, which she doesn't know we were engaged.
I don't care whether you're engaged or not. Engaged is not a legal structure that entitles you to any property, any domain over any of his realty or his ashes or decision-making with regard to what happens to him. You're her mother?
Yes.
I assume you're here for moral support.
And more. Whatever I can support her with.
Okay. First of all, Miss Swan, how many siblings are there?
There is my oldest brother, and Marcus was my youngest brother.
You have parents?
Yes, my father is still alive, and my mother passed away 9 weeks before my brother did.
Okay, Miss White. So let me hear you.
Basically, the reason why I want the ashes in the locket is because that's what we had agreed to at the funeral home.
When did you agree? And with whom did you agree?
Kimberly Swan and me.
And what did you agree?
That I was to receive a keepsake, which is a locket, and an urn with his cremains in them.
Is that right?
The contract that we have, we agreed upon the funeral arrangements. They offered to buy his suit and the flowers, which they did. Everything else was taken care of by.
What I'm asking you is, did you make an agreement with her, either orally or in writing? Put your hand down. Either orally or in writing, to give her a locket with ashes from your brother?
Yes.
Okay. And what? Relax. Okay. This whole thing is ridiculous.
It is.
The whole thing is ridiculous. She's 20 years old. She shouldn't be walking around with a locket of the ashes of her deceased boyfriend. You should be helping her get over this. She's supposed to move into the future. You're not supposed to help her live in the past. I am here to do a lawsuit. And the lawsuit is, was there an agreement between these two people for her to get a locket containing some of the ashes of her brother, and as part of perhaps a quid pro quo of that, did you pay for certain things for the funeral? You did pay for certain things for the funeral?
Yes.
So we did have an agreement. Now what I want you to tell me is why you reneged on the agreement.
When we first made the agreement, I was under a whole total different impression of why they wanted to help in the first place. I allowed for them to help, and this thing about her being the girlfriend, she was the ex-girlfriend. According to 2 days before he died, they had just broken up. But just because they broken up, that didn't mean I was shutting them out. She said they wanted to buy the suit and the flowers and things. I said, well, okay, I'll give you the locket. We have other family, you know, that want the ashes too. In this agreement...
Where's the locket?
Where's the locket?
Yeah.
The locket is at home.
Well, get it.
I'll get it.
That's what you made an agreement for. You made an agreement to give that to her. So far, I haven't heard a reason why you reneged on that agreement.
The reason why is because when he first got shot, Miss White had me under the impression that she wasn't there. But after the funeral, a lot of things have came to light. That she told me many lies about what happened to my brother. She said at first that she was not there, and now after everything is said and done with the funeral arrangements, her and her parents was in my brother's home when he got murdered. All lie after lie after lie.
All right. Miss Swan.
Yes.
You made an agreement with Miss White.
To give her the locket.
To give her the locket.
Not ashes, the locket.
Fine. But the locket contains ashes.
Yeah.
That's sufficient. These your brother's remains?
Yes.
All right. They're yours. They're yours. Put it away. Get over it. Your mother may be a co-conspirator with this lunacy, but, you know, I have limited patience with this. You're 20 years old. You have a whole lifetime to live. You're not supposed to walk around with ashes of your old boyfriend around your neck, whether he's deceased or whether you broke up with him. It's over. It's finished. You got to move on. But we're here to talk about contract. You had an agreement, and you have to fulfill that agreement. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Fine. And does that urn contain his ashes?
Yeah.
Bert, I want you to take that, please, and give it to me. Now, do you want me to keep these ashes in safekeeping until she gets the locket, or are you prepared to guarantee me that she will get it?
I'm prepared to guarantee her, but without all the harassment.
You are prepared to guarantee
locket. That's mine.
That within 5 days she is going to get the locket.
Yes.
If she does not, we will send a marshal to pick this up. Do you understand that? There's no question about that. That's what I will do. I will send a marshal to your home to pick this up unless she gets the locket. Clear?
Yes.
Now you can return this to her, Bert, please. Thank you.
I
What?
have a letter from the funeral director.
I don't
stating
read
the
letters from a
agreement.
funeral director.
This is the agreement.
I don't read letters from the funeral director. Pay careful attention to me. Nobody is opening up that urn and splitting up the ashes. It's not going to happen, Miss White.
But can I explain what happened?
I don't care what happened. You are getting a locket with ashes of your boyfriend.
I understand, but it's a total of 3 urns with his ashes in there.
I don't care. This lady, listen to me, look at me. This lady cannot do that because she is not really in charge of what happens to her brother. Because the next person in the family who is really responsible for making those judgments is your boyfriend's father, not her. She may have made the arrangements, but she's not the person who is authorized by law, unless he had a will. Did he have a will? Of course not.
Not that I know. No.
Of course not. But you have an arrangement with her to get the locket, which she has. She's going to give that to you because she promises me she's going to give that to you. Correct?
Correct.
Otherwise, we're coming to get that.
No, she's getting the
You don't
locket.
want to give that.
No, never. Never.
Fine. You want to say something?
Yes, ma'am, I do. First of all, I'd like to say that Kimberly has not been harassed.
I'm not asking you about that. I haven't
Okay.
gotten to the counterclaim yet.
Okay. About the funeral arrangements. My daughter was promised an urn and a locket. This is the letter from the funeral director stating the
With the
urn
agreement.
and the locket from Kimberly's own statement. That's all I'm saying. She's due more than just a locket.
Sit down.
No problem.
You didn't have on your listening ears. You should have.
I did.
You should know. You didn't hear what I said. Now I'm prepared to hear your counterclaim. Go.
My counterclaim is for harassment, which they have. They have been harassing me ever since after the funeral. Once everything was done and over with, then I get the harassment before the urn shipment even came. This woman had the audacity to call me, yelling at me, telling me that I did not love my mother or my brother. I had just lost both of them. How dare she call my house like that? Harassing. And then she sent somebody to my job. They came to my house one time by themselves trying to retrieve the urn, not the locket, but the urn. They want the urn. And there's a lot of trash talking. Her mother threatened me. Her mother threatened me.
Let me say this.
Uh-huh.
And I want you to also listen.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes when you lose somebody that you love, you're not listening, you're angry. And she's not listening either because her foot hasn't stopped moving for a second. Sometimes when you lose somebody that you really care about and there's an overwhelming sadness, a much easier emotion to deal with than sadness is anger. And you always have to have someone who's going to be the target of that anger. It's much easier to deal with than the emotion that you really should be dealing with, everybody feeling sad. Because the truth of the matter is, that means nothing. You lost your, listen to me, you lost your mother. Was she cremated or buried?
She was cremated also.
Okay. You have her ashes?
Yes, I do.
And you keep them at home?
Yes, I do, right next to this one.
Having lost parents, I know. Listen to me. Comes a time when you go very often to the cemetery to visit because it makes you feel good. I used to go every week.
Yeah.
Then in time, as time settles in, you go less frequently, which is a normal and, quite frankly, very healthy thing to do. I think maybe for you, let me finish. You're not listening.
Okay,
You want
I'm
to talk
listening.
so badly.
I'm listening.
You want
I'm
to talk
listening.
so badly. For you, it may be important for you to have the ashes of your mother and your brother in your house. I think it's dumb for her to have them because, you see, you will never replace your mother, and you're never going to replace your brother. She's going to replace this boyfriend.
Lonita White claims her late fiance's sister, Kimberly Swan, refuses to hand over her share of his remains. Kimberly is countersuing, claiming Lonita has been harassing her.
Now, the ashes that she so desperately wants today are going to be an annoyance 5 years from now because she really doesn't know what she's going to do with them. Does she give them to her mother to hold? Mother say, I don't want them. My husband certainly doesn't want to see him in my house. My kids are going to look and say, Mommy, what is that? So there's a reason for you to keep those if that's what you do.
Yeah.
But there's an anger that is an emotion that you can actually grab onto.
Yeah.
You got to get over the anger. I'm not angry. Good. You got to get over the anger. So does your mother. If something happened to you, I guarantee you, your mother would not give your ashes to a boyfriend.
That's right.
No way. That's right. Put your hand down, scratch all you want. But that wouldn't happen. That's really what they're saying. I don't want to share the brother's remains with you, other than the locket which she is prepared to give you, correct?
That's right.
Perfect. That's what you're going to get within 5 days. Your harassment, forget it. Get over the
about my
anger.
case?
Good.
Fine.
That's all.
She didn't even speak up.
She
won't let me speak.
Step out.
Should have spoke up.
Man, wait here.
She just being greedy and treacherous. She was trying to profit off the blood of my brother. I'm not going to let that happen.
That was my fiance, and I wanted my remains. That was agreed to me.
Lie after lie after lie after lie.
Yeah, I could find another boyfriend, but I can't find one that was like him.
I'm very displeased. I'm very upset.
That woman faked an anxiety attack at his funeral. Her mother was in the front row, fake crying, and I'm sitting up there. I looked at her on that floor, shaking like she got the Holy Ghost. I'm looking at her mother right here. As soon as they seen me standing there, mother stopped fake crying. I look at my brother and say, how did it come to this?
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Pritzkow versus Sheindlin. Step forward, please.
19-year-old Sarah Pritzkow is suing her ex-boyfriend, 23-year-old Bradley Chamberlain, for bail money and the return of her class ring.
Mr. Chamberlain, how old are you, sir?
23.
How tall are you?
6'2".
How much do you weigh?
220.
Do you work, go to school? What do you do?
Work.
What do you do?
I sell cinder block.
Hmm?
Sell cinder block.
Good salesman?
Try to be.
Who's this lady?
It's my mother.
Do you live at home or you live outside the home?
I rent the downstairs from her.
Pays you rent?
He does.
Pretty responsible?
Yes,
Trust his judgment?
absolutely.
Miss Pritzkow, this is what this case is about. You needed a ride to school, and you and Mr. Chamberlain, who were friends
We were boyfriend, girlfriend.
at that time,
Yes.
he was going to give you a ride to school. And on the way to school, he was driving much too fast.
Yes, sir.
How fast were you driving, Mr. Chamberlain?
When the police officer pulled me over, I was doing 109.
And you were taken into custody
Yes, ma'am.
because you were going really fast.
Yes.
And she bailed you out.
Correct.
She wants her money.
Yes, ma'am.
And she says that you also have some class key or something that belongs to
A
her.
class key and a class ring.
And you said you gave her half the bail, and the other half should be her responsibility.
That's what she agreed to pay with my mother.
Why would she pay any part of your bail?
Because I was doing her a favor in driving her down to school.
You see where we were going, Mr. Chamberlain, with those preliminary questions, sir? 6'2", 220 pounds, a responsible salesman. Nobody put your pedal to the metal, sir, except you. 109? That was your business.
Well, she was wanting me to rush down there so she would be on time to school.
If she said to you, look, this is what I want you to do. I'm sort of short on cash. So I want you to pull into that convenience store and pull the hoodie over your head, put a bandana over here, and I want you to go in, hold up the store because I need some money. Would you do that?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
It's against the law.
There you go. You got my drift, sir.
Yeah, I understand.
So if you got stopped for a crime and were arrested for a crime and were guilty of a crime, It's not because she importuned you to get her to school faster.
Correct.
Good. Now, Mr. Chamberlain says he gave you back some money. Did he?
No, I haven't seen a penny.
You say that you actually took money and put it in Miss Pritzkow's hand. Is that right?
Yes, on about
When?
October 8th, she came up for the weekend, calling, asking if she could have her money as well as the stuff back. So we agreed to meet her at a dealership, which is where I had worked at the time, and me and my brother went over there. I called my mom, asked her if she could loan me the half the money to give to her. My mom brought $250 as well as all the items which I had in a bag down in my bedroom. She had brought those as well as $250 to the dealership where we gave it to her.
Who actually put
I handed it to her.
$250 in her hand?
I handed it to her.
Okay. And you say that didn't happen?
No, I wasn't even up on October 8th.
Were you there at any part of the month of October?
Twice. Once.
Okay, so who cares what date it is? He says he gave you $250 plus some things that belonged to you. What things did you have in the bag?
I actually gave her $250 from my mom and $50 from my own pocket.
What things did you have in a bag that you gave her?
I believe it was a teddy bear, a blanket, and her jewelry, which was the class ring.
The jewelry was just the class ring?
There was a couple things in it. I think the key was in there as well.
And you returned it to her?
Yes.
In the parking lot?
No, it was on the front steps of the dealership.
And your brother was with you?
Yes, my brother and my mother were both there.
Is that right? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Step up. What time of the day was this?
It was about 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, just before the dealership closed.
Where did you get the jewelry from?
It was in a bag in his bedroom downstairs. And he called, asked if I'd go downstairs and get it, and bring that, and bring $250 out of the safe.
Not happening. If I had my class ring, I'd be wearing it right now.
When did you break up?
In the early beginnings of October.
Early in October. So if he was going to give you this money and return your property, October 8th or thereabouts would have been just about the right time. Is that right?
Okay.
Anything else you want to tell me, Ms. Pritzkow?
Yeah, I have documentations of the bail I paid, written amount for everything.
Let's say the bail is $600. I believe that he paid you $300, and I believe that he returned any jewelry.
I wasn't.
I believe him. That's my job.
But I wasn't even there, Your Honor.
Well, you can establish to me that you weren't there at any time at the beginning of October.
I wasn't. I was there after the 17th for my birthday and to get my car.
So maybe it was the 17th. Listen, Ms. Pritzkow, that's my job. My job is to make a judgment as to who's telling the truth and who's lying. And I believe that he returned the jewelry to you in a bag along with a bear and a blanket, and that he paid you $300 of the bail. But he's going to pay you the other $300 because it's not your fault that he was stopped for speeding. Judge for the plaintiff in the amount of $300. That's all. Step out.
Why does Arch speed? You may step out.
He's lying. He didn't pay me anything.
She received her items back,
Because I could trust him. I loved him.
and when she came calling for her money, I gave it to her.
He can rotten. Plain and simple.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Siri versus Carvello. Step forward.
24-year-old Samantha Siri is suing her ex-boyfriend, 25-year-old Michael Carvello, for an unpaid loan for a plane ticket. Michael says the ticket was a gift.
Mr. Carvello, how old are you, sir?
25, ma'am.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a bouncer at a bar.
And how long have you been doing that?
Approximately 8 months.
What did you do before that?
I was working part-time, just odd jobs.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
Police officer.
What are you doing in order to train yourself for that?
Just taking classes right now, going through schooling, extra schooling.
What extra schooling? Don't play with me. What extra schooling? You need a bachelor's degree or an associate's degree?
You don't need neither for
So what classes are you taking?
just side criminal justice type classes.
Where?
Community college.
What courses are you currently taking?
Administration of justice.
Yes.
And law classes.
How many classes are you taking?
2.
Administration of justice.
Yes, ma'am.
What else?
Introduction to law.
Okay. You met the plaintiff. According to you, she made a gift to you of a plane ticket.
Correct.
She says it was a loan. She wants her money. When did you meet her, Mr. Carvello?
I believe it was late October, early November.
And what did you need a plane ticket for?
The plane ticket was for a trip to Phoenix, Arizona.
For what?
Just to go along with a friend for a weekend trip.
Why were you going with your friend to Phoenix, Arizona if you couldn't afford to go?
He was going to see some family, and I wanted to go along with him.
Well, why were you going, sir, if you didn't have the money to go?
Just to accompany him, have a weekend
You
away.
didn't have the money to go!
That is correct.
So what did you do?
I mentioned the situation to Samantha.
Well, what did you say when you mentioned the situation, Mr. Carvello?
I told her I had a friend of mine going to Arizona, and I'd like to go with him. The plane ticket was a little bit of money, and I didn't quite have it. and she had offered to...
No, the plane ticket was a little bit of money. We're talking about words. Plane ticket was a little bit of money.
Correct.
Did you tell her how much money?
Approximately, yes, I did give her a range.
Well, did she give you a range of money, or did she buy the ticket?
No, she gave me a range of money, Your Honor.
What range of money did she give you?
$325.
How much was the plane ticket?
I believe it was about $300.
Well, Mr. Carvello, you just told me a moment ago that you didn't quite have the money for the plane ticket. How much did you have?
I couldn't afford it.
No, that's not what you told me. You told me that you told Miss Seri that you didn't quite have it, which would suggest to a person of reasonable intelligence who wants to be a police officer that you had most of it, but you were short a little bit. So how much did you have?
Maybe $100. Some spending money, maybe.
You get where I'm going?
Vaguely.
Now, when did she give you the money, sir?
I believe it was around the middle of November.
What date?
Right around the 15th, I believe.
And you went when to Phoenix?
Towards the end of the month. I believe the 23rd, 4th.
Between the 15th and the 23rd, did you see Miss Seri?
Yes, a few times.
When did you finally decide that she wasn't for you?
It was a little bit after I returned from the trip.
So right after she gave you the money?
You could say that.
Mr. Carvello, we don't like amoral bums to be on the police force, sir. Amoral bums belong doing other odd jobs. You have a copy of the check? I'd like to see it, please. Because if you're in a committed long-term relationship and somebody wants to be nice to you and make a gift to you of some money for something that is a non-essential thing, like joining a buddy to go on a weekend, I can see maybe in that kind of a relationship there's give and take. But if she gave you this money, and shortly after her giving you the money, according to her, she went into the bar where you work and you totally ignored her. Is that what happened?
We went out together, another bar where he doesn't work, but then after that was completely rude, and then I had no more contact with him.
Then it seems to me that what you do is you say, I'm going to give you back the money, even though we didn't have a time frame or whatever. But this was, in fact, a loan. He did say he was going to return it to you.
Yes, he did.
When did he say he was going to return it to you?
In about a week.
Yeah. Mr. Carvello, either you have to do something to buttress your moral fiber, sir, or you have to pick a different profession.
Sure.
Yeah. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $325. Would you do me a favor? Find him the door.
That I can do. Parties are excused. You may step out.
I informed the plaintiff that I didn't have the money for it.
He just thinks he's the most charming person in the world.
And she agreed.
And I don't like being taken advantage of.
I view it as more of a gift, definitely.
He's a jerk, and he doesn't want to pay the money.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case 2162, Newton versus Estrada.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Newton, you retained the services of Mr. Estrada to make you a costume.
Yes, ma'am.
And it was, according to your complaint, you make a living as an influencer?
Yes, ma'am. I produce content.
Now, Sarah has actually tried to explain that to me, what that is. And I think the kindergarten version of what she told me is you are on the internet, and your idea is to get as many people to follow the things that you do in your life as possible. And you post on the internet.
What is your...
your pictures doing whatever you're doing. And then when you have enough people, advertisers, people who make products, pay you to tout their products one way or another, and that's how you make a living.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
No problem. Anytime.
Okay. So you don't produce anything, you just being you.
Well, no, but I do own 3 companies, and one of them is a social media advertising company. So it's important to meet and mingle with as many people as possible.
I get that, but it's all to support your primary function.
Yes, ma'am.
As we had a case years and years ago. It was one of my favorites. It was a guy who was being supported by a woman. And quite frankly, I couldn't see what this perfectly delightful, productive woman, what she saw in this guy. But I said, she gives you this, she pays your rent, she pays for your food. What does she get in return? And I'll never forget his answer. He said, she gets a me. So I don't know why that came to mind when you're talking about being an influencer. How does that happen? Anyway, you asked Mr. Estrada to do a costume for you. You like to go to events. I don't have to hear all about it. I sort of understand it a little bit now. You contracted with him to make this costume for you for $1,000. You paid him a $500 deposit. He delivered the costume, albeit he delivered it a little late, but you accepted it, and then you didn't pay him for it because you say it was not made well.
Yes.
And you have the costume now.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay. In addition to the costume, you gave him another costume that you wanted him to just put another applique on of something. It was a relatively minor thing.
Glue.
Whatever. You asked him to do something. It was work. He's not your brother, uncle, father. You're not related to him. That's his business. And when you refused to pay him the balance of the costume that he made for you, he has the other costume, and he says, when you pay me, you can get your costume back. Am I clear?
Yes, but we have talked about creating multiple different costumes in the future, and every single time there was a dollar amount mentioned. This was never discussed. Okay. You discuss it prior, but that was never discussed.
Well, that's true. And whose fault is that?
It was never brought up. But
No. Whose fault is that?
I assume.
No, just a second. If the complaint about the costume that he was just supposed to put an applique on of some sort of a creature, a spider or something, if you gave it to him, and this is his business, then you say, how much is it? So I'm just letting you foment that in your head, sir. When did you order this costume from him for $1,000?
August 7th.
And he delivered it in October.
October 8th, I believe.
And what was wrong with it?
Many things.
Just say you have it with you.
I have every single bit of the costume with me.
I'd like to see it.
You like one piece at a time?
No, just a second. That's a boot. What else?
This glove.
Just a second, that's a glove.
Yes.
Okay.
And he actually has plenty of pictures that he sent me in the chat that he was actually making the glove himself. This comes from a costume store from the main movie that this comes from.
Okay,
and it came out in 2005. He sold me a glove that was almost 20 years old, and he said he was making me one.
Okay, keep going.
And this belt right here, I only tried it on once to see how everything fit, and by the time I tried to take the belt off and on, it broke between 20 minutes of use in the house, just testing it out in the mirror.
I just want to see that. I see boots. I see a glove.
Right there.
Looks perfectly normal to me. And that's put on with Velcro.
Yes.
No big deal. You put on another piece of Velcro. That's a substantial belt. Put it back. What's your next complaint?
Well, number one, not only did
Just a second. I don't want to see the glove anymore. I saw the glove. I saw the boot. I saw the belt.
Well,
Where's the rest of the costume?
Here's the other boot.
Just a second. Hey, where's the rest of the costume?
We don't have a mannequin or something we could put this on? We don't have a mannequin or something we could put this on?
We could put it on him. Put it on him. Ask him to put it on. I want to see what's wrong with it. It's a costume.
Newton claims costume designer Robert Estrada sent him a poorly made superhero costume. Robert is countersuing for the balance owed on the costume.
Okay, now, would you do me a favor? Just put the belt on. I know that you can't use the Velcro because a piece of the Velcro came off. Put the belt around. I just want to see how the belt's supposed to go.
For the record, it doesn't go like
Just
this.
a second. I didn't ask you anything. I just said put it on. No, you have.
It's actually really difficult with this robe on.
Now turn around. Oh, okay. Very good. Now you can take all the show and tell away, and you can take it off.
Your Honor, if I could say something.
You don't have to say anything. I've seen the costume for which he wanted to charge you $1,000.
Well, there's still more.
Yeah, but you don't want to put that on now, because you don't have to put that on again.
You have to put on. We're looking at the showmanship. This should be one continuous piece.
Mr. Newton, get a life. Get a life. Get rid of that stuff. Put it over there on that chair. This is not a $25,000 costume. It's a $1,000 costume. If you go into a store to buy any costume, without boots, without leather glove, it's a couple of $100. not made. And if you don't like the way it was made, don't use his services again. According to what I read, you have lots of costumes.
I have two. The one there and the one that he brought of my possession.
Oh, okay, so you just have two costumes.
Yeah.
Great, now you have two. Now you pay him $500 for the costume that he made for you. That's the balance that you owe him for the costume. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the...
I'm not accepting the costume because it's
Just a
not
second.
up to my...
That's why you're in court, sir. I don't care whether you like it or not. Don't use his services again. He made it. You bought it. Based upon my view of that, it may not be perfect.
I paid for it to be perfect. That's
Just a
the reason
second.
why I bought
Just
it.
a second. I like a lot of things perfect, sir.
There's a
Life
reason
is
why I
not
bought it.
life is not perfect. You're going to pay him for the costume.
I paid for
No,
perfection.
you're going to pay him for the costume. That's it. That's why you're here, for me to make a judgment. If I looked at this thing and didn't think that, for instance, when you sent him those boots, were the soles falling off the boots?
No, there will not.
I didn't think so. That's for my benefit. He's going to pay you the $500 that he owes you for the costume.
The belt wasn't.
And then he bought it.
The belt wasn't falling apart either, but one use, and within 20 minutes of trying it on, and voila.
Just a second, Mr. Newton. I'm done with that. I'm on to the next gig. I'm on to your other costume that he was supposed to put an applique on. You have that costume?
I do.
Very good. Now, I want to tell you something. He didn't send those boots with soles off.
They don't fall off by
Just
themselves.
just a second. No, they don't fall off by themselves.
And I didn't wear it anywhere.
I don't care whether you wore it anywhere, and I know they don't fall off by themselves, and he didn't send them that way. So you figure out, let the people out here figure out what's in my head, how the soles came off both of those shoes.
You can tell me why one piece of the costume has a bigger arm than the other.
Listen to me. I'm not hearing you anymore.
I don't think you're being very fair.
Listen.
Just to be
They
fair.
said it-
I'm a big fan of you, but I don't think you're very fair right now.
It's not a popularity contest, sir. You bought something. I bought
There's
many
also
things.
principle involved,
This is not.
which is
this
why
is
I
not.
decided to
This
take
is
this
not.
to court.
This is not.
Principle.
You're out. You're gone. Goodbye. Your case is dismissed. Do you want your costume back?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. How much was it to put the applique on it?
It was $100.
$100. Very good. Judgment on the counterclaim, $600. He gets the costume back.
Yes.
You understand?
Completely.
We're done.
Thank you.
Court is adjourned.
I paid a pretty penny for something that was just fabric and boots.
I tried to explain how the costume works, and unfortunately, he didn't really listen. He doesn't listen.
It's one of my favorite things of all time. I've always wanted it.
Well, I gave him what he wanted, but when I delivered it, he actually didn't take the time to hear me tell him how the suit goes on.
So what do you think the likelihood is that the defendant shipped those boots with the soles the way we saw them in court today?
Zero.
I totally agree. I think that the plaintiff thought it would help his case to have a little bit more destroyed of a costume than
drama.
Maybe it was, and doesn't look good for him.
Actually, I thought that what was sent, the boots were substantial. There's no question that he dislodged the soles from them before he came here. The belt was a really substantial belt. What he was complaining about was a piece of Velcro.
And it's a costume belt. Velcro comes off the clasp.
Yeah, and you
come
put it back
undone.
on.
You just
Put
super
it-
glue it
glue-
back
yeah.
on.
Absolutely right. There was clearly $1,000 worth of work that went into that costume and putting it together with the boots and the belt and the glove. It was really sort of outrageous that he didn't pay it. Anyway, made my life easy, besides the fact that he was a nudnik.
Kimberly Gutierrez is suing her mother, Rhonda George, for false allegations, debit card charges, and personal belongings.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case 2131, Gutierrez versus George.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Gutierrez, this is your mother.
Yes, ma'am.
And who is this?
My grandmother.
And that's your daughter?
Yes.
I'm reading the complaint and the answer, and this is what your complaint is about. You claim that your mother had you falsely arrested, as a result of which you spent 4 months in jail. While you were in jail, it is your claim that your mother used a debit card of yours, I think $3,000 worth, and you had some belongings at her house that you want. I gather that you've had some problems in your own life. You have at least 3 children.
Yes.
Was the state ever involved in placing the children in foster care?
No.
And what about your daughter?
My daughter, yes.
And how old is your daughter?
She's 19 months.
At what point did the state become involved with your daughter?
In May of this year, May 18th of this year, when there was false allegations made against, when my mom refused to give me my daughter back.
In May, when you brought your daughter to your mother's house, when?
I called my brother on May 17th of 2022, and I asked him to babysit my daughter.
Your brother. And does your brother live with your mother?
Yes, he was staying with her at that time.
So on the 17th, you asked your brother, who was staying with your mother, if he would babysit for your daughter. Where were you going?
I was needing to go to Fresno, and I had just received my income tax check. So I needed to go to Fresno, and I was on foot because my car was impounded the day prior.
Were you going alone?
To Fresno, yes.
So you brought your daughter on the 17th of May to your mother's house, and your brother was supposed to watch him, according to you, while you went to Fresno.
Watch, yeah, he met me down the street, actually, because there's a restraining order, so I didn't actually go to the resident.
Who has a restraining order?
My mother has a restraining order on me.
Is the restraining order that she has against you a final order or a temporary order?
It's good for 3 years, that's all I know.
That's a final order. Was that a final order of protection after a trial, or did you consent to it?
I was not notified of the court date. Didn't consent to anything.
Okay, so it was a default.
I don't know what that means.
It means you didn't show up and they entered a final order of protection in favor of your mother. So you're not permitted to go to her home.
Right.
Since that's not really the subject of this, I don't have to get into it. In any event, you went on the 17th, you dropped your child off at your mother's house, your brother was there, and then what happened?
I finally got to Fresno, I got a ride, I got to the check cashing place. It literally took me...
Don't tell me, I'm not interested in that. 17th, you dropped the child off. You were supposed to pick the child up when?
That evening.
On the 17th?
Yes.
And did you?
I showed up it was a little before 10. I showed up, I called my brother, I said, I'm down the street. He was like, yeah, I'll be right there.
10 o'clock at night?
It was almost, ma'am, I was on foot. And
it's just, I asked you 10 o'clock at night.
It was right before 10, yes.
Okay.
When I got there, I called him. It had been about 15 minutes had gone by, and I called him back, and I said, where are you at? And he said, Mom won't let me leave with the baby. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, Mom won't let me leave with the baby. My mother instinct kicked in, and I went in like fight or flight, and I walked down to my mom's house, and I knocked on the door and was asking for my daughter. I finally came to my...
Okay, so when your brother said that to you, instead of going to the police, you violated the order of protection.
I ended up leaving and calling the sheriff.
Okay, but you didn't. You went...
Of course, yes. I was going for my daughter. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what happened at 10 o'clock at night or 10:30?
Yes. I finally realized that about 5 minutes of being at the house, I was like, okay, you need to leave. So I left because she wouldn't open the door to give me my daughter. I left. I called the sheriff. And so I told them the situation. So they had walked down to my mother's and let her know that what she was doing was basically...
No, not what she was doing. The police came
and told her that they could arrest her. And told her that if she did not, that she needed to give my daughter back. But because it was late, the baby was already asleep. And so the cops that came back down to me, and they said, look, we don't, because they knew me.
Whatever. I'm allowing you to give me a certain amount of hearsay so that I can make this story make sense.
Oh, okay.
Do you understand? But don't tell me because they knew you, what they thought.
Yes,
you were told to come back in the morning.
Yeah, the agreement was that between my mom and the sheriff was that I could pick up Malia in the morning. The sheriff told me to call before 6 o'clock in the morning before he got off his shift, and that he would come back out and do another standby. The next morning came. Between me and my grandma, I had us call my mom. And
no, just a second. What does that mean between you and your grandma? Your agreement was you were supposed to call the sheriff. The sheriff, according to you, before 6.
I called my grandma.
No, not the grandma. The agreement was you weren't supposed to call your grandma. You were supposed to call the sheriff.
Right, but I needed a ride. I needed a ride. So I called my grandma to have her come pick me up.
Just a second. Where were you?
I was staying at a friend's house. I didn't live in Selma.
Just a second. You were staying at what friend's house?
The sheriff came, got behind us, and tried to, pin us in, and my grandma went to take off.
So your grandmother was driving?
Yes, ma'am.
And she was trying to evade the police to go someplace else.
Kimberly Gutierrez claims her mother, Rhonda George, owes for debit card charges and personal belongings.
You were staying at what friend's house?
My friend Isaiah's.
Isaiah?
Yes. I stayed the night there waiting for my daughter.
Just a second. Isaiah. Isaiah what?
Bonilla.
And what is your relationship with him?
He's my best friend. He's been my best friend since high school.
Where are you living now?
I live with my grandmother right now since I was released.
Full time?
Right now, yes.
What do you mean right now, yes?
I'm in the process of getting my own place.
Okay, so You called your grandmother, and then?
Called the sheriff.
And then?
Waited for the sheriff to respond.
And then?
The sheriff did not respond for a few hours.
Okay, so you were waiting for the sheriff to respond. The sheriff did not respond until when?
It was after 7 o'clock in the morning, and it wasn't even yes, ma'am, 7 a.m.
7 a.m. Your daughter is, according to you, 19 months old? 19 months old. And she had, prior to that, been living with you?
Yeah, she was living with me all the time, yes.
She was living with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now let's get back to this arrest that you had. According to your papers, your daughter was with you up until that time. What time did she wake up in the morning?
Usually she wakes up between 7:30 and 8 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, well, then could you tell me why, if she wakes up between 7:30 and 8, why you would even contemplate picking her up before 8 o'clock in the morning?
Because one of my issues was with certain officers that would have been responding, and the officer that responded the night of the incident, he told me, if you wanted me to be the officer to respond, you need to call me before I get off my shift.
Fine, but he didn't respond to you. But according to you, he didn't respond to you.
No, it was
so
a different
my
officer.
Question to you is,
they did respond at 7 o'clock in the morning.
And did what?
It was a horrible mess.
Well, he did what?
They responded. When they responded, he showed up. The officer told me that he did not want to be there. He said, if I have my way, you'll never see your daughter again. And I looked at him, and I said, wow, okay.
What do you mean you looked at him? Where were you when you looked at him?
I was right next to him, but I just...
Where, at the precinct or at your house?
No, down the street from my mom's.
Okay, so he responded to you when you were down the street at your mother's house, and he said, I'm not getting involved in this, and if I had my way, you would never have your daughter. And so what did you do?
So at that point, my grandma pulled up, and I told him, I said, your assistance is no longer needed, and that my grandma could just get my daughter. And he says, well, you already called me. The deputy did. So I said, okay, whatever. He asked me if I had somewhere to live, and I said yes, and whatever. And so he went down to my mom's. When he went down to my mom's, he was supposed to just go down there and get my daughter. When he was taking too long, I could walk so far this way, and I could see straight down my mom's street. So I did. When I did, I seen that my mom was out there just giving him an earful. I know this woman very well, okay? So I just imagined what was being said about me. Well, I guess the back door is screwed and nailed shut at the house. I don't know why.
I don't know. It's not important.
Yeah. So anyways, my best friend went over the back fence.
What do you mean your best friend?
Isaiah Bonilla.
Oh, so you brought Isaiah with you?
He went...
Just a second. So you have your grandmother, and then you've got Isaiah, your best friend, also to go to your mother's house.
Yes, ma'am. He got my daughter.
Isaiah brought her to where you were.
Yes.
And then what happened?
I started walking back towards Isaiah's house. When I started walking back towards Isaiah's house, my grandma pulled up in her car, and she was like, are you ready to go get your car out of the impound lot? And I said, yeah, I'm ready. And so I got in her back seat with my daughter. When I got in the back seat, I got in the middle. Well, then she was like, well, I don't know what's going to happen. Your mom's over there saying a whole bunch of stuff to the deputies, so I don't know what's going to happen. And so I was like, well, I got to go get my stuff from Isaiah's. So I go to jump back out the car. As I go to jump back out the car...
But just a second. Now you have your daughter.
Because I needed my wallet. My bag was at Isaiah's. My purse and everything was at Isaiah's. I was going to go back and pick it up. Well, right when we were going to go back, the sheriff came, got behind us, and tried to pin us in, and my grandma went to take off.
So your grandmother was driving.
Yes, ma'am.
And she was trying to evade the police to go someplace else.
Yes, ma'am.
And how many police cars were involved?
One.
Were there ever any more than one police car?
Once we got to the police department, of course, there's a police department.
No, I'm talking about the number of police cars. So there's a police car now.
Coming behind us? No. It was just one.
It was just one?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were accelerating to get there? Was the police car siren on?
No.
Well, how did you know that he was trying to pull you over?
Because he tried to hit her car.
Oh, that would give you a clue. So you're telling me he tried to hit your grandmother's car without notifying you in any way to pull over?
Yes, ma'am. That's why I spent 4 months in jail, and I beat my case. I went to trial and beat my case. Everything was dismissed.
I'm not responsible for the criminal justice system. I'm only responsible for what goes on here.
Yes, ma'am.
So I assume once you got to the police station, both you and your grandmother were arrested?
Yes, ma'am.
And that was in May?
Yes, ma'am.
And now uncross your arms. And now we're in December.
Yes, ma'am.
Of the same year.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're out of jail?
Yes, ma'am.
You've been out of jail for about?
Since August 25th.
Who does your daughter live with?
Right now, she's with the mentor. She's my ex-husband's aunt, ma'am.
And who placed her with your ex-husband's aunt?
I did.
Not the court?
No, I requested her.
Does the child's great aunt have guardianship?
No,
custody?
I'm getting my daughter back, ma'am.
But for the last 3 months, she's been with this aunt.
Right, because Child Protective Services did get involved, and Child Protective Services, I've been doing everything that...
Well, that's what I asked you. I asked you whether Child Protective Services
Child Protective Services did get involved with my daughter, yes.
Did. That's what I assumed.
And I've been drug testing, I've been
doing...
Just
a second.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what I assumed, that Child Protective Services was involved. And so if Child Protective Services are involved, then they are overseeing the child's placement with the aunt. You have an ongoing case.
Yes, ma'am.
Probate court.
No, not probate.
Which one? Family court?
Family court, yes.
When was the case opened with regard to your daughter in the family court?
May 18th, the day I got arrested, ma'am.
And that child became involved with the foster care system in May. Okay, so your grandmother also spent a little time in jail. How much?
2 weeks.
I quite frankly don't understand your case.
While I was in jail, Your Honor, while I was incarcerated, my mom had all my debit cards, my ID. She had went and actually, because of me getting arrested, she had went to Isaiah's and picked up all of my stuff.
You mean, just a second. Let me understand this. It is your claim that the reason that you had to go to Isaiah's house was to get your pocketbook, your wallet, your credit card that you left there.
But I never made it there.
I understand that. And Isaiah, clearly, from what you tell me, knew of the problem because he was part of this little conspiracy to get your daughter out of the house and was at the back of the house to pick up your daughter who was being put over the fence. So why would Isaiah give your mother...
Because she went over there with a baseball bat and busted out his windows. On February 4th this year, I lost my twins, okay? And that was the first time I had contacted my mother because I was going through it and I messaged her and I told her, I said, I really need my mom right now. If anything, I need my mom right now.
Kimberly Gutierrez is accusing her mother, Rhonda George, of wrongfully using her debit card and keeping her belongings.
So why would Isaiah give your mother...
Because she went over there with a baseball bat and busted out his windows. And the reason why all of my things were at my mother's was because I hadn't lived at my mom's for over a year.
What your case is about...
Is my belongings.
You claim that your mother went over and got your wallet from Isaiah's because I asked you what you were doing here. I certainly am not looking into the allegations of false arrest. It sounds as if you did the absolute wrong thing in trying to regain your daughter, whose custody, actually, you lost at a dispositional hearing and was determined to be a dependent child and placed in foster care. That's what happened here.
Right.
Okay, so I'm not even addressing your claims of false arrest.
Okay,
what you did was actually the wrong thing. I said, so what are you suing for? Now, you said
my belongings,
okay.
my
what,
money.
Just a second. What money?
She used my CalFresh, which is my EBT food stamps, and my CalWorks, which is my cash aid through the welfare department.
Just a second. So you're suing her for taking your food stamps and your welfare check?
Right.
Just a second. Your food stamps and your welfare check.
And this is the statement from my tax return of all the money that was on there.
On where?
On my debit card. It had over $3,000 on it, and I marked what was used after she had picked it up. And then these are receipts from some of my belongings that was at her house.
Just a second. You haven't lived in your mother's house?
I moved back to my mother's in the beginning.
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
You hadn't lived in your mother's house. According to what you said to me, Whitney, was it a year ago? Didn't you say that you moved out of your mother?
My mom allowed me to come back.
Because there was an order of protection.
She had called me. I was living in Fresno, ma'am.
Just a second. You hadn't lived in your mother's house. You said you were living with your grandmother. For how long were you living with your grandmother before May?
I said I was living with my grandmother right now. I was living in Fresno, ma'am.
I want to know what property you think...
My clothing, my husband's clothing, my daughter's bassinet. I had jewelry there. I had all of my clothing.
Why would all of your clothing be there? You were living with your grandmother.
I hadn't moved into my grandmother's until I got out of jail. I was living in Fresno. And my mom...
Just a second.
You're not letting me talk.
I'm not understanding your movements.
Okay, my mom kicked me out in 2021, okay? My daughter was just a few weeks old. My mom kicked me out due to her boyfriend.
She kicked you out?
Yes.
And?
When she kicked me out, I went through Marjorie Mason, and Marjorie Mason had placed me in hotels. I was placed in hotels for about 3 or 4 months, okay? And then it was about January of 21, I was pregnant with twins. They had genetic defects. On February 4th this year, I lost my twins, okay? And that was the first time I had contacted my mother because I was going through it. And I messaged her and I told her, I said, I really need my mom right now. If anything, I need my mom right now. My daughter had not seen my daughter. She was not a part of my daughter's life. I did not speak to my mother, nothing. So she made an agreement that she would watch my daughter, because I had to go to San Francisco because I was too far along in my pregnancy. And it was just a big old mess.
Do you have any of your daughter's property?
No.
Okay, now, let's talk about this card. Did you pick up her property from Isaiah? That's either a yes or a no. After the 18th of May.
Well, how do I answer that when I did pick up her property, but her cards were not in there? Her driver's license wasn't in there. Her food stamp card wasn't in there.
What were you doing at Isaiah's?
So she asked...
Was this when she was in jail?
Yes, right after she got arrested. So I went down there. No problem. He handed it right to me. Look in my wallet, make sure everything's in there. Like I said, I don't know if it was her driver's license or ID was missing, her food stamp card, and the other card, the bank card. I don't know how to get proof, but her best friend, he cashed out everybody money. There was a bunch of people, even himself.
Information right here.
Even himself and his girlfriend. I don't want to get into the whole...
I don't want to get into it either. It's far too complicated for me. Is what you're telling me that you never used a card that she had?
No, I did not.
Because I'm not concerned about food stamps or welfare.
I did not.
You're suing the wrong person. You were in jail, so you didn't need money from welfare. What proof do you have?
I have my bank statement.
What proof do you have that your mother withdrew money?
She was the one that went and picked up my cards.
Oh, I don't know that. That's not what she says, and you have no proof. Isaiah's not here, correct?
No.
I don't doubt you when you say that somebody used your card. I just need proof to show.
I know that she was supposed to get my daughter from CPS. She was supposed to go get a crib with my card, and I have and my grandma can.
I just want you to show me.
Ma'am.
No. That your mother. I believe that people used your card.
She used my card.
No, I don't know that. I need you to show me proof that your mother
How am I supposed to show? I have my bank statements.
Then I'll take a look at your bank statement. If your bank statement tells me who used your card, then that's an easy. She said she did not. I just want you to show me proof that any of these were used. I mean, we have a lot of PlayStations, DoorDash, Amazon Marketplace.
And
all
I
of
was locked
those
up throughout that whole time.
I understand that. I suggest that you concentrate on getting yourself together. If you want to reunite your family, I suggest that you put your priorities in order.
Oh, they are in order.
Evidently not.
I work, I have a job, I go to school, I'm getting my own place, but I'm going to court, I'm getting my kids back.
Good.
Can I give you this?
I don't know what it is.
Well, I just want you to look at it.
Can I see it? You're telling me this is part of your daughter's criminal history? What is this?
No, I'm just showing you she just got out of jail just a couple of days ago.
They haven't picked up charges, Your Honor.
You were arrested on November 28th?
Yes.
I'm not going to let you tell me about this. You have a lawyer?
Yes.
As I said, Ms. Gutierrez, if you're trying to work to get your family back together,
yes, ma'am,
and your kids back together,
yes, ma'am,
it would be a good idea to think about having more children until you get these children back under your roof. We're done here. Your case is dismissed.
You have a good day.
This court is adjourned.
Oh, I love her decision. I don't want to have nothing to do with any of them. They've burned their bridges.
Perfect example of suffer the little children. So you have 3 kids, none of whom live with you. They go back and forth between a grandmother who would participate in evading the police, but where the police had to stop them by ramming the car.
Yeah, I was going to say there was something in the papers about a crash and...
She said he tried to ram my mother's car. So fingers crossed for her.
Yeah, and the kids.
But take care of these kids before you think about having any more.
Yeah.
Case 2137, Weiss versus Light. All parties, please step forward.
Caitlin Weiss is suing her ex-boyfriend, Cody Light, for unpaid loans.
Ms. Weiss, the defendant was a boyfriend of yours for a period of time.
Correct.
And you allege a couple of loans. One from a year and a half ago, the balance of a $200 loan, he paid you back $100.
Yes.
Quite frankly, I'm not interested in what happened a year and a half ago. What you say is, I need time to catch up.
It was a verbal conversation.
Well, what's in writing is you saying to her, I can make payments to you. But the thing that you don't have in writing is where she gave the loan. Is that right?
Caitlin Weiss claims her ex-boyfriend, Cody Lipe, is refusing to pay back loans she gave him during their relationship.
Okay, in March of this year, you allege that you gave him money. He was still your boyfriend in March of this year, is that right?
Yes.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
And in March of this year, he had gotten a car. What kind of car did you get?
It was a Buick Regal.
What year?
A 2004, I believe.
Where did you get it from?
I got it from a private seller.
How much did you pay for it?
$850.
Needed fixing.
Yes.
And you didn't have money for parts.
I did for the first round of parts.
But you didn't for the second?
After the first ones failed, I did not.
And how much did you need for parts?
That I don't remember.
Who bought them?
Miss Weiss did.
Did you buy them on a credit card?
I believe so, yes.
And you have no idea what you paid for those parts?
I don't remember.
But that would be in March of 2022.
It would have been in April.
Did you pay for the parts by credit card?
Yes, I paid between Cash App transactions that were transferred to Mr. Lipe through Cash App, which I have present here.
I'd like to see proof of them. What do they total?
They totaled up to $920.
Does that sound about right, Mr. Lippe?
That's about right.
Okay. And tell me about the discussion that you had with her when she paid for these parts.
There was a discussion of how I was going to pay her back.
And what did you tell her?
I did agree at that time.
And then what happened?
There were then later discussions as we were still in a relationship and I was in financial troubles that she told me not to worry about it.
This 920 was a loan in April of 2022. That's what you say. It was in April, not March.
Correct.
And then you say at some point she forgave that loan.
Right.
Tell me when that happened.
Shortly after the car got back together, which would have been in May. I was financially struggling.
Well, you weren't living together at the time?
No, she would periodically come over and
yeah, but you weren't living together at the time. So how would she find out that you were in financial trouble?
I mean, we were at that state in our relationship where she knew basically my financials all the time.
When did the two of you break up?
I believe that was in June.
So shortly after you say she forgave the loan.
That is correct.
Did you ever forgive this $920 loan?
No, I did not. Brennan Black was there the day that I had confronted Cody at a car meet and had offered him a short little payment of $790 where Cody said he would do it in payments.
Just a minute. You broke up in June.
Correct.
He says that you had a conversation before that, sometime in May, where you knew he was in financial difficulty. Did you ever have that conversation with him?
No, that is incorrect. I do have statements here to prove it as well.
I'd like to see them.